Me welcome all of you to this another Marcia Weeks show. And what a joy it is for me again and an honor to be hosting tonight's show as I have been generally doing on the Monday nights. And I certainly have looked forward to these special sessions with you. I'm actually off island at the moment, involved with a production over in the Cayman Islands, and but I told Marcy, I said, I know I do have an exceptionally busy schedule coordinating a number of aspects of the production. But I told Marcy, I said, Marcy, I'm going to be available. I will make myself available. I've made that commitment to you to be assisting you with the show on Monday evenings, particularly. And I just want to say what an honor it is to have been asked by Marcia to do so because, she is a very particular lady. And I always consider it a real honor when she asks me to do something. So I thank her so very much for the opportunity to be here again with you this evening. And of course, my setting is a little different than it normally is, but we're looking forward to a great night. We will have Kimar joining us in just a little while. We're not sure of Caswell. Caswell has not been well. All right, Caswell has not been well, and we want to ask you to keep him in your prayers. Make sure you ask the good Lord to touch his body and strengthen him and heal him during this particular point in time. Someone said to me that during this time, it would not be any surprise if all split foot. We would use to refer to him, of course, we talk about the devil, Satan, would try to take out some of the team and try to render their voices silent. But no matter what happens, you can't silence this opposition, which is risen from within the citizenry of the country. And we want to say thank you to all of you who continue to make this show possible and support Marcia and Caswell and Kimar and several other our guests that do join to share facts with you and truth with you and to be able, not from a partisan connection, but from a factual position to be able to share with you. So we welcome all of you, 76 on with us already tonight. We want to welcome you, Diana. And again, as you join us, it's be great to know where you're joining us from. And yes, Caswell is really, really good on those real life experiences. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Heath, we thank you too for being with us here on the show tonight as well. Remim, I hope I got that right, but can always depend on you to be promoting the operations and restoring Barbados. Yes, absolutely. We thank you for that. Tracy Barrow, welcome. Good evening to you too. I like that for all firm craftsmen of our faith. Never take these words for granted. Absolutely, Tracy, because we need to chart our course for our country and we need to hold our political leaders' feet to the fire. We elected them to represent Barbados, not to represent the World Health Organization or to represent the World Economic Forum or to represent the United Nations. We elected them, and let me say it as I'm thinking it, we hired them because they are working for the people of Barbados. We hired them to carry out the requests of the people of Barbados and to speak on the behalf of the people of Barbados. And if you don't know people are saying, then you need to ask the people and come back to the people and find out what they would like to hear from you. So we welcome all of you that are joining us tonight. ADG, yes, welcome you, sir. Yes, we are praying for Mr. Franklin to get well as soon as possible. You never know, he might just jump on tonight. I hope he does. I hope he's able to come on and be with us again tonight. Sir Alfred Benjamin, thank you, sir, for locking on from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you for Loyal Daughter 66. Good night. Wonderful to have you too, June. Great to have you. We're looking forward to as many of you as possible. So just remember to share the link. Okay, and this is the one for tonight. Don't get confused because on YouTube you'll see two links. You'll see one with the Bajan flag, and then you'll see another one with a gentleman in it. The one with the gentleman is going to be for Wednesday night. The one with the flag is for tonight. Okay, so make sure you get the right one out and share it. June, thank you so much for being here. Marlon, thank you. Wayne, thank you. Christine, oh, watching from London. Wow. I tell you, my goodness, Wayne, I'm seeing evening times. I don't know if that's like a UK newspaper or something of that nature. But we really look forward to you sharing. Thank you. We're up in 108. Looking forward to getting a whole lot more on for tonight. We're going to be dealing with some interesting subjects. Marcy is always very efficient to communicate with me. Good night to you too, Jack. Thank you so much for being here. Marcy has always been so good at sharing with me what she would like us to look at. And tonight we want to look at the independent celebrations, because we saw an ad posted by one of the schools talking about November the 30th for Republic celebrations. So we'll be talking about that, our weather conditions and food production. We'll be looking at the aspect of the NIFCA disqualification and why some of the media houses are turning a blind eye to it. We also want to take a look at the mental health of our youth. And we really do need to, and I'll be sharing with you in just a moment, a really saddening situation that occurred over the weekend. But we do want to pay attention to our young people, our youth. They need us. They really, really, really do need us. And here I'm not just speaking from the aspect of the church. I know that very often we are quick to chastise the church and we are quick to beat upon the church. But I want to say that the well-being of our young people is. Let me make sure I get the English language correctly. The well-being is the responsibility of all of us, not just the church. And never forget, the church is more than just the church leaders. A lot of you go to church. A lot of you sit in the sanctuaries of churches and receive very good teaching. And what is necessary is to take that teaching that you receive and carry it with you and share it with others. We don't have an abstract faith. We have a definitive faith in one called the Lord Jesus Christ, and he is one that has changed the lives of millions of people down through the ages, and changed it for the better, setting people free from drugs, drug addictions, you name it. People have been liberated. People have been freed from domestic violence situations through their faith in Christ. There's a lot of brilliant stuff that Jesus has accomplished in the lives of many people. But even more than that, we need you as the people to take that message of hope out into the world where you live, because we encounter, especially since the pandemic, we have encountered so much hopelessness. We've encountered hundreds and thousands of people who have lost their jobs, whose lives have been turned upside down by what I can call nothing less than a demonic assault upon the world, upon the globe, and people across the world. And to make it even worse, we have those demonically driven and inspired individuals that lead the pharmaceutical industry that took advantage of a time such as this, and brutally and without care and concern, just did what was necessary for them to make billions of dollars in profit. And I tell you, I keep saying, my beloved brethren and sisters, I keep saying that God does not sleep and God does not slumber. And while you and I may not be able to do some things about some of these people, I can tell you that he is quite capable of dealing with them and making them regret what they have done. Welcome, Tyrone from Calgary, Alberta. Great to have you with us. And Mystic again, Everton, great to have you with us too. Yes, Zash Yearwood, great to have you two with us again tonight. And we're looking forward to a great, great evening. Good night. Yes, Mark and Angela Cox, Jack Sobers, Emerson Babb. Yes, we're happy to have all of you joining us tonight, and we're looking forward to a great night. But we do want to, as I was mentioning, I believe it is all of our responsibility. I don't place it just on the shoulders of one group of people. I believe that we all have something that yeah, I know. If you're in Grand Cayman, I've just ministered in the First Assembly of God in Georgetown, and yesterday evening in the West Bay Assembly, just outside of the city. But I am in Grand Cayman, and we're doing a great production here, the Singing Christmas Tree. It was the first country in the Caribbean and one of the only two countries in the world that did the Singing Christmas Tree outdoors. But because of the weather systems that have set in, with the northerners coming down from the United States of America at this time of the year, we are using a facility known as the Lion Center. It's an open, the sides of the facility are open, but it's a fully covered area. And we are doing a great production there again, declaring that Jesus is still the Christ of Christmas. No matter what anybody tries to do, a few years ago, they wanted to eradicate in the United States of America the expression Merry Christmas. That's how stupid people became, as if you're going to have a Christmas without Jesus. It's stupid, it's really stupid. So we are really believing God to touch the lives of people around the world, and give them hope. And we want to do that, and in doing that, we have to address some of the challenges that we are facing as people in a country. And we need to hold our governmental elected officials to task to provide for their people. We are turning out, I'm told, somewhere in the ballpark of over 3,000 students a year out of our educational programs, out of secondary school and out of the University of the West Indies. Where are they going to work? What are you going to do? What are you offering them? What facilitations are you providing for them in terms of maybe even doing some of the same things you want to employ? You want to invite people into our country to do work remotely. But what about working with some of our regional countries and some of the international countries where you're always flying to try to establish a facility where some of our people can go to those countries and work remotely as well and obtain jobs and so forth in those countries? I mean, if we're going to be so cooperative and having everything thrown in our laps and having to do everything for everybody else out there, certainly they should be able to contribute, in terms of providing jobs in, like we in Canada. I remember in Canada, it was the agricultural sector that we could have got people going to Canada to work there. But there's got to be more than just agriculture. I thank God for agriculture, but there's got to be more. We have some brilliant young people in Barbados, brilliant young people in the Caribbean, some of the highest levels of education that you will find in the world. And we should be trying as much as possible as leaders of our countries to make it possible for them to obtain as many opportunities as possible to be able to get out there and develop a good life for themselves. And we're living in a rapidly changing world. We are living in a very difficult world since the pandemic. As I mentioned, people have lost their jobs, and we've had families go through horrific experiences. Some families that have lost loved ones, not only to the virus, but also to the joke, as they tell me, don't mention certain words on the platform, because we don't want to be deplatformed from YouTube and other places. But certainly, we need to be able to have those people held accountable. And I am very firm on this. They have disturbed our lives. They have upset our whole progress of life, and they should be held accountable. And I'm thankful to God for the European Union that formed a committee to investigate the pharmaceutical industries and their remedies, and that are furthering investigation with the origins of the virus. We're also seeing it happening in Australia, in New Zealand. We are seeing it happen in England. We saw a situation occur, if I can find it, a situation occur recently in Canada, where I believe the Health Department of Canada finally admitted that they were in error. And so we want to be able to hold these persons accountable. All right. So we just received a message too, that 24 hours, less than 24 hours to stop 79 nations from signing the abortion CSE Transgender Sexual Rights Treaty with the European Union. Just less than 24 hours to speak to that. And we are in a challenging world. And I'm just simply saying that the time has come that as people, we need to stand up. In Canada, they did it relative to the matter of the teachings in their schools and the children, with their children. The Muslims led that. Christians came together. Atheists came together, and they stood up and said, no, not going to happen in our country. And when we resume the marches, we need to get you out there taking a stand, not a few hundred people. We need thousands of people out there to be able to say to the government, don't bring it here. Don't bring it here. All right. And we need to be able to establish those positions very well. Thank you for Joanne for praying for Caswell for a speedy recovery. We really appreciate you doing that, and taking the time to, this is a caring family. We're not just here to be the loyal opposition. We are here to care for the well-being of one another. DaCosta, yes, great to have you in the house in Sydney. Wonderful to have you. Good night to you, Joanne, as well. Kerry Fitzwilliam Wilkinson, thank you too. Good night to you. Yes, thank you. Yes, Tyrone, it was the love of money, the root of all evil. And I am grown over the past 3 years of this pandemic to believe the Bible even more, because a lot of what it said, you're now beginning to see the reality of it. And these wicked people that have upraised the world, and have benefited phenomenally. And I'm just praying that they be brought to account and be brought down. All right. So we're going to be looking at a number of things tonight. We're taking a stand. Listen, I don't even think God, and I'm not going to say God for whatever you desire him, you think him to be. I'm not doing that. He's not creator to me. He's God. I know that in our constitution, they want to change the constitution to remove God from it, and put creator as to whatever you want to think him to be. I'm sorry, I don't subscribe to that. And it's fine. I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with me, but that is the right I have. And this is what we are fighting for: the right of freedom of expression, the right of freedom to speak what we believe, the right to present that in drama and dance and not have it censored, because we believe in two genders, because we believe in our creation from the beginning, male and female, and because it's in a dance, you disqualify it because it speaks truth and speaks science. All right. Now, over the past good evening to you too, ND. Wonderful to have you with us. Good night to Llewellyn. Great to have you too. Good night to you too, Dale. Wonderful to have you in. Keep going. We're 218. Oswald, thank you. Great to have you with us tonight as well. So just keep sharing. We're looking forward to a great night. In just a few minutes, Kimar is going to be joining me a bit earlier on the program tonight. And then later on, Marcy is going to be joining us, and God willing, we'll have a couple of other guests on, and hopefully, you never know, because Caswell is a fighter. Caswell is a fighter, so it's very possible that we might see him on tonight. You just never know. All right, so we do pray for him to get well soon, but we do need to stand up. We need to lock our shoulders, shoulder to shoulder, and say, I have a right to express myself. I have a right to disagree with you agreeably, and you don't have to agree with everything I have to say, but that's your right. That's your freedom of expression. And these are things that we must fight for. We can see in the world today, the far left, what they call the far left, and some people talk about the woke grouping and that kind of stuff. In some instances, I say that they are insane, because during the pandemic we kept hearing this phrase, the science, the science, the science. And I kept saying, no, it's not the science, it's science. Science is not separated into segments that you have some over here, some science. It's science. And if science doesn't agree with our opinions, then you're going to have to change your opinion, because your opinion does not necessarily reflect the truth. You're entitled to your own opinion. That's a fact. We all are. And that's what the leaders don't like. That's what the mainstream media doesn't like. That's what the government officials don't like. They don't like the fact that people are entitled to their own opinions. And that's, but you're not entitled to your own truth. I hear people talking about relative truth, like if something is true in Barbados, it's not true in the Cayman Islands. If truth is truth, it's truth. Okay, now you may have green water where you live, and I may have blue water where I live, but whether my opinion says it's blue or not, it's blue. Where you are, it's green. So whether, in my opinion, I don't think it's green, the truth of the matter is it's green. You can't change that truth. So truth isn't relative, my friend. Truth is a one thing in this world that we have that remains constant. It remains constant. So when government officials come to you and start to talk to you about certain aspects, we know now, because we have the access to the information, we know what is the truth. You know, just a few days ago, I don't know if you all would remember that a couple of weeks ago, um, Kimar was talking about a gentleman who, um, excuse me, a gentleman who was speaking in one of our radio programs from the Barbados Water Authority, telling us that and I'm just double checking it to make sure I give the right information, because I don't want to be wrong. Mr. Mwanza, I hope I have the name correct. Mwanza, he was debating with Kimar that there was no such thing as funding relative to the sewage development system in Barbados. Well, he's a liar. He was a liar. Okay? He was a liar. Why am I saying that? Well, you see, you can't hide the truth forever. Here's an article carried in Reuters. Carried in Reuters. And here's the heading: Barbados debt for climate swap backed by $300 million EIB IADB guarantee statement. And the article goes on to say, listen, Mr. Mwawanda told Kimar that the Barbados government had nothing to do with any European Investment Bank funding. And Kimar is going to be on later on to talk about it. Okay. Yes, thank you, Zash, for praying for Caswell's speedy recovery. And he is a strong guy. He's a strong guy. We just might see him on tonight. Thank you to Dale. Yeah, they're very dark, very wicked. Men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. They don't like to come out here and talk in the light where we are. They like to stay in the back rooms and make their arrangements in the dark and in secret, because they're evil people. All right. But the article goes on to say, it's November the 10th, and I can put it up here for you to see it. And if I can figure out how to get the link to you, I'm going to put the link in here that you can see it for yourself. You can go and read it for yourself. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. They followed the signs that they couldn't provide, nor no one saw. Yes, all these people, very dark people. Yes. The article is carried in Reuters and is dated November the 10th. Listen to what it says. The European Investment Bank, the EIB, and Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, are providing a $300 million guarantee for Barbados to execute a debt for climate swap to upgrade water infrastructure, the European Commission said on Friday. The deal will enable the Caribbean island nation to issue the equivalent of $295 million of sustainability linked debt, with the EIB and the IDB, each providing $150 million guarantees, the Commission said in a statement. This innovative finance structure, a world's first for resilient infrastructure, can provide a new avenue to allow climate vulnerable states to accelerate critical investment in adaptation to a manner that does not jeopardize public debt dynamics, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley said in a statement. It was made clear which debt Barbados will swap in the latest deal. Savings, listen to this, savings will go towards sewage treatment plant upgrades that the EC said would increase water supplies and mitigate the impact of climate change. But when we went on brass tacks with David Ellis and Mr. Blackman and challenged Mwanda on this matter that he lied about, he denied that the European Investment Bank had anything to do with the water development systems in Barbados. Now, you know who is telling the truth and who is not telling the truth. Thank you, Derek. It was also in the newspapers as well. Yes, Nigel, I can't agree with you more. I can't agree with you more. So we need to keep ourselves alert, be on our P's and Q's to know what is happening in the world around us. All right. So I want to encourage you to do your research. Don't accept even what we tell you. Do your own research. Do your own research, and you're going to see what we've been telling you is actually the truth. So just getting back now to what some of the things that Marcia has given me. We do want to look at this matter again of these nations. And incidentally, our countries around the world, all 194 countries around the world, have, I think, up until March or something like that next year to state their position concerning the World Health Organization taking over the sovereignty of our countries in the event of another global pandemic. Let me let you know that that the United States Congress has said can't happen in America. They are opposing that matter, and I dare say there are several African countries that are equally opposing the whole matter of the United Nations through the World Health Organization taking over the sovereignty of our countries. Could you imagine that? Want to tell our elected officials that we voted for to look after the well-being of us, because you cannot have a nation without its citizens. So when you talk about looking out in the best interests of Barbados, you have to be talking about looking out in the best interests of its citizens. You can't separate the two. And if it is a significant shift or change that is to be made, it is respectful, particularly within the context of a purported republic, to engage the people. Okay? Yeah, but we're going to make sure, ND, we're going to fight it, ND. They would gladly sign it. But I'm telling you now, I would be a part of any government that will rescind every agreement that they sign when we come to office. And let me just say this before some of my colleagues join me. You know, I raised something with Caswell, and I want to raise it here with you all because tell you what, I'll tell you, if I want to set up a church or I want to set up a charity or a non-governmental organization, I have to register that organization with the Ministry of Intellectual Property in Barbados. Okay? That is what is legally required of me. Okay? Now, I raised a matter with Caswell concerning the fact that no political parties in Barbados, to the best of my knowledge, are legally registered at the Ministry of Intellectual Property. The Barbados Labour Party is not registered. The Democratic Labour Party is not registered. As far as I know, the APP is not registered either. Now, I stand to be corrected, but when I raised it with Caswell confirmed it that they were not registered. So here's the deal. Here's something that you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay some attention to. Here's something you're going to have to pay some attention to. All right. If our political parties are not registered. Thank you, Pete. And you all can correct me if I'm wrong, because I learning too. Okay. But if the political parties are not legally registered in Barbados, then what we have are a group of independent candidates that are coming together, forming a grouping called the Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party and the Barbados Labour Party. Okay? And that is what we have. So we have, if you're just dealing with the two parties in Barbados, we have 60 independent candidates running for office. So when we start to talk about running as independents to represent Barbados, it's already being done in Barbados because the Barbados Labour Party is not legally registered. The Democratic Labour Party is not legally registered. That is my understanding. I stand to be corrected, and I am. You all are here. You all are better at some things than I am, and I concede that. You're much better. Look, would you all let me take a break here for a minute and welcome Caswell Franklin. Caswell, welcome, welcome, welcome,
Yeah,
welcome,
yeah,
welcome,
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
brother.
We almost didn't make it tonight.
But listen,
Somebody compromised my email. They compromised my WhatsApp. They compromised everything that they're picking on now. And just now, I had to.
uh-huh.
Dave had to send me 3 links before I get in here. You
Are
know,
you serious?
I could not get in. All of my things. Somebody tried to mess up, and I had to go and. I was trying since just before 7 o'clock. They're trying to keep me off of the shows. I'm Ferdinand. I don't know.
Well, they were trying to keep Kemar too, because I just got a message here from Kemar that he had trouble signing on as well, but he's on now. I'm going to add him to this. He
Mhm.
can always activate whenever he's ready. That you're fine to come in. Kemar, welcome too as well. Both of you, welcome. Caswell, there have been so many people just expressing here tonight that they're praying for you to get better. Several of them. So everybody is so happy to see you on tonight. You're hearing me? You're not hearing me?
Hey,
I was hearing
can I,
you just I'm
Dr.
hearing
Ferdinand,
you
you can
now.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're hearing me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you quite fine. Thanks for the welcome to the
Okay,
show. I was
great
definitely
to
having
have
some
you.
trouble getting in. I don't know if it's
Yeah, you drop back out there again. You drop back out there again. Caswell seem to have had some problems as well too, Kemar. Like they're trying to stop, somebody said the general, general,
oh,
uh, general coming in.
can they-
Let me see if I can bring him in again. You hearing me okay there, Caswell? We were hearing you good at the beginning there just now. So just want to make sure you're hearing us. Everybody is so happy to see you. Everybody's so happy to see you. So just check your mic and check your settings for your headset to make sure that you're connected to the right headset on your device. All right, Kemar, you're there. You're hearing me all right? Hearing me okay there, Kemar? I think you are. I can on. Let me see if I can unmute your mic. Um, no, not hearing you, Kemar. Okay, they both got back out to come back in. Yeah, they're trying all kinds of things.
This up. You
I
can hear
I
me now?
got you.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I can hear you. You can hear me all right?
I'm hearing you now again.
Oh yeah, we got you. I can even hear the
Until
dog. I can even hear the dog barking in the background.
yeah, good. Yeah,
But so
but
good to have you join us,
yeah, yeah. Thank
Caswell.
you.
And
But I wasn't so good yesterday, but
yeah,
I'm medicated now, and I'm not back to my usual 80%.
but that's all right. You're
But
moving toward there. You're moving
yeah,
toward there, right? I've been sharing, Caswell, about a number of things before you came in, we were talking about the EIB, European Investment Bank loan that we showed that Mr. Mwanda was a liar because we got the information from Reuters that proved that the government is engaging a guarantee of $150 million from the EIB and $150 million from the IDB. And the purpose for that funding, Caswell, is clearly stated in the article. Let me bring Kimar in here again too. Um, let me bring him in again, add him to the stage. Um, where the writers in an article, and listen to what it says, Caswell. It says it was not immediately clear which debt Barbados will swap in the latest deal. Savings will go towards sewage treatment plant upgrades that the EC said would increase water supplies and mitigate the impact of climate change. So Mr. Mwanda was a liar when he tried to confront Kimar and tell Kimar that he wasn't telling the truth about the EIB.
You see, what has happened to the public service and the statutory boards to some extent, or to every extent, is that they have to follow the lead of the government. Nobody stands up on their integrity and says, no, I can't do that. You see, and they are
Mm-hmm.
afraid. They are afraid. Even, look at national insurance. The chairman of the National Insurance Board went on brass tacks and said, oh, thanks, Monica, went on brass tacks and said, or that they made a mistake, there made some errors in the legislation, and they're going to fix them. But they haven't fixed them because they were caught. So when Kimar caught them, you see, so when Kimar caught
Mm-hmm.
them, they had
Mm-hmm.
to find a way out. So they put some, you see, they put a non-minister to lie for them. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
a good test to see if Kimar is actually anybody's telling the truth, because a minister is not supposed to come and lie to the public, or because
Mm-hmm.
you can lose your ministry like that. So they put some of the minion out there and said, but he wasn't speaking for the ministry, you know. So and Mr. Mwanza at his age should not allow anybody to treat him like that. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the public service, I remember I know the public service very well, and I've seen where they have required public servants over the years, and some public servants will say, "No, I'm not doing that." No one does that now. That's the problem, because
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, other ministers, Rose Corbett will tell you, because she spoke with Humphrey Walker when Barrow wanted to get money for the national insurance fund. Humphrey Walker said, "No, it's saying it is not for that purpose." You can see any director of national insurance now telling this prime minister, "No, but you can't take national insurance money and do it like that." Because the service has been destroyed. They're not professional public servants anymore. They're professional yard fools about the public service, and you pick them. And only today I spoke with a gentleman who was acting in a particular job over a period of time. Then they bring somebody who is not qualified for the job and put them in it. Because this guy has no political, as a matter of fact, he's a minister of the gospel. And so he does not have um, any desire to be B or D. So
Mm-hmm.
because he is not B, he can't get the job. And he's more qualified, right? He's more qualified than the person that come in. When he was qualified for the job, that youngster was in school. When he had the qualifications for the job, when he was acting in the job, that youngster was in school. But now he
Mm-hmm.
has the job. Why? Because he is politically connected. And when you have these people who are politically connected, that the only thing that can keep them in the job is their political affiliations, then they have to do what the politicians want. This country is
Right.
being
Right.
destroyed, and it's being destroyed And because politics and politicians want to get their hands on everything, they don't know how to stay in their lane. Everything is their
Yes,
concern.
yes, yes. Well, you know this subject that someone has just raised there with you, Caswell, about the national insurance legislation. Um, One of the things that I believe Marcia wanted us to touch on tonight had to do with the NIS. She sent something to me about it with regards to the fact that even having, I'm just looking for it here to make sure I have it correct so that you can probably address it. The NIS bill is not adjusted to remove state, which is something she sent to me. So I don't know if you want to touch on that quickly. Kimar, you're back with us, Kimar?
Yeah, I am here. I'm here. You can hear me well?
Yeah, hearing you good, man. Hearing you good and clear. Wonderful to have you on, sir. Wonderful to have you on. We're looking
Yes.
forward to an exciting. We got a number of agendas. I don't know if you got the messages that I sent you, that we can touch on a number of subjects tonight, including the LGBTQ agenda, freedom of expression and conscience, and Kimar Caswell. I started to talk. You remember I raised matter with you about the registration of political parties. You remember I had raised that with you,
Mhm.
and you had mentioned to me that none of the political parties in Barbados are actually legally registered.
No, there's no
Am I
requirement for it.
correct?
It is just a
Uh,
political party is basically like a club.
Right. Which
Like this
means
have
that
a little club.
right. Which means that technically we have 60 independent candidates running in the country. What is even more concerning is that you have a non-legally registered entity making legal decisions and passing them as laws in our parliament. And it would be interesting. I don't know, Kimar and Kazul, relative to the Constitution, how that sits, because it raises questions in my mind as to how legal all the laws that have been passed are. I mean, I might
No,
be being an idiot here.
um,
I don't know.
well, so the 49, as a former general secretary of the Democratic Labour Party,
Hmm.
uh, that would be essentially one of the highest offices in any political organization that you could reach.
Right,
Right?
right. Uh-huh.
A political party is a gathering of like-minded individuals
Uh-huh.
who then within council field candidates,
Uh-huh.
individual candidates, because
Right.
our constitution does not recognize political parties.
So
If
you're saying just
sorry,
I
go
can
ahead,
interrupt you. I can interrupt you for a sec.
go ahead.
Yeah. So if our constitution does not recognize political parties, and I'm not putting you on the spot. You can answer how you feel to answer. Does that mean that the persons who are being fielded as candidates are independent candidates if they don't recognize a constitution, don't recognize the party?
All
every
members
can
of parliament are elected. All members of parliament are elected as
individuals.
individual members of parliament. There's no such thing as a political party in parliament. So that
Hmm.
is why when you have cases where people part from political parties, they sit as independent members. The last examples we had of that was Maria Agard and Onafa, who sat as independent MPs. So they left their political parties, but they did not leave their seats. So no political party
What
has
about
the power. No political party has the power to resign any seat, or the individual who wins the seat. The right is up to that person to step down, or if they die, a by election could be called or whatever. But when in parliament, you operate on conscience. But political parties have something called a party whip, which they could use to
right?
get you to vote a specific way. But you have to agree to
Hmm.
that. You
Thank you.
you you have to agree to that. That's an institution that you have to agree to the laws of the party. But in the
Hmm.
parliament in itself, there is no space for the party, but an independent or individual who has the right of vote, yea, nay, or abstain.
Right. So then it means that the laws, as Peteway is educating me. Thank you, Peteway. In the case of laws being passed, then they're actually passed by individual persons in Parliament and not by a party.
Yes,
Yes.
precisely.
Right. Right. So when we start talking about fielding independent candidates, we this is nothing new.
You know, feeling independent candidates, every party in Barbados field independent candidates. It is only when you form yourself into a group. Let's say you have an election and you have two parties purportedly running an election. That doesn't mean that the party who get the more seats will win. At the end of
Mhm.
the day, it is who informed the governor general, no, sorry, the president, that they support one person. So you can have a situation where um, a party get more seats than the other fellow. The other fellow, some people in that party say, no, something, I am serving under this person and go with the other one. That happened in St. Lucia some years ago when Compton was prime minister.
Yes.
Called an
Yes. I
election.
remember that.
He called an election and he won the government by one seat. So he dissolved parliament immediately and had an election again the second time around.
Right.
And
Right.
the result was the same. And he went over the other side and bought Snack. They call him Snack, but he's CENAC. And he then became a minister and gave the ruling party a two-seat majority, and party became Minister of Foreign Affairs. So it is only when you tell the president that this group, I have a group of 20 people that support me, and those people should really sign and say so. Once before, they never used to have to sign, but since um, Cammy Tudor tricked the governor general and told him that Sandyford, the people were supporting Sandyford. Now everybody's going to put a signature on a piece of paper to make sure that it because the governor general took their word that Sandyford had the backing of the majority of people and swore Sandyford in when that was not so.
Hmm.
But having
Right. Right.
having sworn him in, he's prime minister. You couldn't unswear him, so he
Hmm.
became prime
Hmm.
minister, and that became the genesis of the National Democratic Party, the NDP, because then four people, Richie Hinge, Ginger Bourne, Peter Miller, and who else? There was a fourth person. They left and crossed the floor, and because there were four of them, four people who supported one person in the opposition, well, the Barbers Labour Party only had three. So
Hmm.
they displaced the Barbers Labour Party as the official opposition. And Richie Haynes became the leader of the opposition. So
Uh-huh.
it
Uh-huh.
depends on the numbers, the people
Right.
who tell
Right.
the president. So it doesn't say about you could win all 30 seats. Like for instance, Bishop Adley, they won all 30 seats. Bishop Adley says, no, I'm not supporting Miss Marley. She cannot lead me. And he told that to the governor general. The governor general said, well, in that case, you will have to be leading the opposition and you have to name in the some senators. And
Hmm.
that's what he
Hmm.
did. So it
Right.
is it,
Right.
it is just, but the problem here is that when you then make somebody prime minister, it is very difficult to take that person out. You have to get a two-thirds majority to fire them. And if you don't get the two-thirds majority, but you get a majority vote, that person, like Sandyford, had then to resign within 3 days or call election. So it gives them 3 days, and Sandyford took the 3 days and then said, you know something, I am calling election. And spraddled a lot of people because about 7 or 8 of them had 2 weeks to go before they qualified for a pension.
Right.
So it's, but this is recent history. But a lot of people should remember if they want to.
But you know, the reason I'm raising this is because as we are talking about governmental change, you know, one of the things that I've been pushing, and you know this, and Kimar knows this. I speak of it on the protest marches and so on, is really fielding 30 independent individual candidates who can run the country. And you know, looking at political parties, it proves that it can be done because you all are clearly showing that there are individuals who have come together, but at the end of the day, when they sit in parliament as individuals and not as a party, because then the legislation, the laws, and so forth are passed as a result of the votes of the individuals. But and one of the
You,
things that I raised here again, Pete, 36 raised it. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Caswell.
you see, the problem is that the only time a prime minister becomes vulnerable is election night. After you are sworn in, the prime minister now becomes first among equals, they call it, primus inter pares. What all that means is that the prime minister now can control them. She decides who become ministers. Well, the prime minister decides who becomes minister, who become parliamentary secretary, and if the party, she will nominate her person to be speaker, and the rest will go along with it because she has the majority of people. Now, if this try to rebel against the prime minister can fire them from the cabinet
From the
and
cabinet, but not
from
from
the
parliament.
cabinet, but not from parliament. If the prime minister
Correct.
fires you from cabinet, you will have to go back to the back bench and sit down. So that is a control the prime minister has. That she, the cabinet ministers make far more than a backbencher, and those fellas get that little sweet money.
Oh, dear me.
They don't want to go back, so they're gonna
Ah,
do what the prime minister say. You don't see in the first election of Miss Motley won, 2018. She had almost everybody in the cabinet. All she did was to leave back 3 people or so on the back bench who would become the officers of the House. You had to have a speaker, a deputy speaker, a chairman of committees, right? So unless you wanted to have chaos, you had to. So there were only about 4 people that weren't ministers because
right, right.
when she make you a minister, she got control over you. So she made sure that she bought everybody because she was of the opinion that Barbados only needed about 12 ministers. She said that when she was speaking about Fernando Story. I don't know if you remember that, Kimar, but she said that Barbados had 17 ministers and those were 5 too many. And she could get rid of all these ministers and a couple of parliamentary secretaries. But then when she became prime minister, she had 26. You see, but that is the measure of control. Why do you think they would have been offering me jobs? Because if they offer me jobs and I get that big money, we're gonna hush my mouth. Or
But let me
I
ask
would
you
lose the
this.
pig.
But you know, you said something just now, and but the prime minister, you mentioned the prime minister is actually chosen and selected by the majority of persons in in by the majority of persons in parliament. Isn't that correct? Because, in other
Yes,
words, if you have an election such as what we have had, and Motley is leading the Labour Party, it does not necessarily translate into her becoming prime minister until the people in parliament vote for that position. Is that correct?
correct. Simply because, well, not necessarily vote, but inform the president that
Yes,
this
yeah.
is the person we will support to be prime minister.
The majority of people in parliament.
Yes,
Yes.
the majority of persons will say, well, this is the person we support as prime minister. If you remember, well, you might not remember, you're too young, but when Barrow
Thank you,
became
sir.
when Barrow became premier,
Yeah.
because prior to independence it was a premier.
Yes.
Prior to independence, Branker was the leader of the Democratic Labour Party. And when the Democratic Labour Party won, the majority of the people in the Pink said, we don't want Barker to lead, we want Dipper. And as a result, when Barrow became Prime Minister and he offered Barker a position as minister, Barker said he better put it. And then eventually he made him the Speaker of the House, because he was now looking forward to become the Premier.
Right.
And then the fellas stabbed in the back and made Barrow the Premier. Barker did not live that down. And he remained, but he took the job as Speaker because he would not serve under Barrow in his cabinet. So even at that point, I said that's the time when you are vulnerable. That's the only time when you're vulnerable. It is election night when the votes are done counted and you know how many people won. The majority will say to the president, look, we support this man. And if
President wanted to jump in here and say something quickly.
Jump right in, my friend. Jump right in.
When the Prime Minister won, and she wanted to offer the Democratic Labour Party 2 seats in the Senate.
In the Senate.
That was such a ludicrous. I mean, good semantics, but it was such a ludicrous thing. Our country does not support proportional representation. I see Caswell talking, but he muted. But
You're muted,
it does not.
Caswell.
Right. Our country does not support proportional representation, right? Where the parliament has direct responsibility or capacity to regulate the behavior of political parties. That don't happen.
Yeah,
So,
1 minute, Kimar. Caswell, your mic is on muted. We are seeing you speaking, but we are not hearing you. He's probably not hearing us either, Kimar.
probably.
He's not hearing us either.
You gotta wave your hand at him and tell him something. He can't hear either.
Yeah, some setting that he may have. He might have to go out and come back in. You go ahead, Kimar.
Right. Our country does not support proportional representation. So the parliament cannot regulate the behavior of political parties, right? And if we are to make changes in it now, we're like Guyana, where representation is political party based. So if you run in an election and your party get 60% of the vote, you get 60% of the seats.
Right.
If you get 30% of the votes, you get 30% of the seats. But that does not happen in Barbados, right? Because we do not recognize political parties. We recognize individual MPs. So for her to have changed, or for her to have do what she wanted in terms of giving the Dems 2 seats, the system would have essentially been changed to a proportional representative system, where you could directly regulate the behavior of the political party, i.e. the DLP, at the time by giving them the 2 Senate seats. But you can't offer the seats to a party. You gotta offer the seats to individuals.
Right.
Right?
There's a question there. There's a question there on the platform, gentlemen. So how will this new proposal work? Where the BLP is now saying, if you cross the floor after an election, that person now needs to go back to the elections. If the persons in there are individuals, how is that new proposal going to work?
That proposal will only work because the Barbers, the party, or the people making this proposal does not understand the system of government that we're in. I am an individual. I am not elected based on any party ticket, like Kimar was telling you just now. So the way that was achieved in Trinidad, if you cross the floor, you lost your seat. Because when Eric Williams was Prime Minister of Trinidad, if you wanted to become a candidate in Trinidad, you had to sign a resignation letter. You don't date it. You write a letter, address it to the Speaker of the House, saying that you have resigned your seat in Parliament, and you give it to the Prime Minister. If you misbehave, the Prime Minister will put a date on it and send it to the Speaker, and you lost your seat because you would have resigned. But that's the only way they could do that. Eric
But
Williams
as
was,
well, look, I see Adrian Hines making a statement here saying that what he said was not true. Um, how could the constitution be changed to accommodate changes? If the prime minister wanted people from the DLP and the Senate, the offer had to be made to individuals. You cannot offer a political party to sit in parliament. The constitution does not recognize political parties. If we go that route,
Exactly, exactly.
if we go that route, the system that we have, which is called the first past the post system, would have to be changed
no,
a
no,
proportional.
you see what happened in order to get that done. That he's saying change the constitution, you have to constitute parliament first. And if you constitute parliament first, you got to put the people in the Senate. And then you remember when she wanted Keir McConney and Rawdon Adams to become
And Adams,
senators,
yeah.
they had to put two people in the Senate, Delisle Bradshaw and John Williams. So they came in and served as senators for 1 day. And then their appointments were revoked, and then they come in. But you have to constitute parliament first. So she couldn't have done it that way.
Well, gentlemen, this is one of the areas we wanted to touch on tonight. I raised it because I still feel very, very strongly that we can feel a cadre of 30 individual candidates. I call them independents. But what you're saying to me is it's already an occurrence in Barbados because the Constitution don't recognize the political parties; it recognizes the individuals who are offering themselves as candidates, and it has occurred actually, Caswell here in Grand Cayman, where I am, incidentally. I shared with the folk earlier that I'm actually off. I didn't see my setting behind me has changed a little bit because I'm in the office, church office in the Cayman Islands. Um, but it's something that I have raised, and I really believe that, like here, we have a situation right now where there's a bit of a deadlock because one or two of the party members or one or two of the independence candidates have stepped away from the others, and a couple of the party members have stepped away, and so there's a gridlock now, a deadlock in the parties and the independents, which I believe the Speaker of the House is the only person now that would be able to break that deadlock, so to speak. So it's something that I really feel needs to be explored more in Barbados, where we can offer proper and let me be careful. Don't let me say proper candidature. Let me say people who are more committed to values than they are committed to a political party, because I
Well,
think that is one of
you,
the
you but
challenges we are
but you
having in
said you
Barbados now.
you just said it a different way. Proper candidates.
Well,
You know?
I didn't want to necessarily cast aspirations on anybody that is already in there, or anyone in the Democratic or APP or any of them. But I wish that we had people who were committed to the values of our country. As a result of that, we won't be entertaining all this crap about CSE. We won't be entertaining the nonsense about LGBTQ2 plus trying to change uh, the legislative aspect to force us all to call them whatever it is we want to call them. We won't be engaging with, because those don't represent the values of Barbados. They simply don't
Adrian,
represent the values.
Adrian Hines made a comment just now. I want to address that. He said that Mia is keeping her people close. Yes, that's it. Ever mindful of what occurred basically when she was the leader of the opposition. No, the leader of the opposition is not as secure in the job as prime minister. The leader of the opposition, if you're a leader of the opposition, all you need to do to change the leader of the opposition is to show that a majority of the people who do not support the government don't support you, and then you're gone. It is the majority of the persons who does not support the government. They will decide who become leader of the opposition, and that is done by a simple majority. On the other hand, with the prime minister, If she becomes prime minister, or anybody becomes prime minister, and you want to remove them, it is not a simple majority of the people that don't support the government. It is a two-thirds majority of the people in the House, which would include the opposition and the government people. But you remember when after brought in vote of no confidence against Sandyford, that some of Sandyford's people, Leroy Trotman and a couple of others, um, Evelyn Graves and Keith Simmons, I think it was, they voted with the opposition to get rid of Sandyford, but they did not have enough votes to get a majority, a two-thirds majority. So Sandyford then had the last laugh, because since they didn't have the majority vote, but he had to go anyhow, but he had 3 days in which to decide if he's going to resign or if he's going to call the election. And he called an election. But for the opposition, there's no such thing. For the opposition, all you have to do is for the minority in the House, the people who constitute the minority, to tell the president, we support this person now to be leader of the opposition. And the opposition gone. They're not voting in the House for it. They're nothing. The prime minister has to be voted in the House to get rid of the prime minister. The leader of the opposition, you only have to inform the president, and you're gone.
Right. But the thing is, Caswell, even within our church circles, you take my church or my ministry, for example, I decided on my own to bring my church into the Pentecostal Assemblies of the West Indies Barbados District on my own. My church, when it started, was an independent or non-denominational church, but I chose to bring it in. If I cannot now choose to take it out, I have to have a two-thirds majority of a group call, which has to be in excess of a quorum. I think you would know all about what that is. I can't make a decision now to take it out. So what you're saying is a very similar thing. You have a simple majority to determine who the prime minister is, but it's a two-third majority required to remove that individual as the prime minister. All right. So thank you so much. Kimar, you want to add anything else to this before we move to the next subject? We want to keep things tracking along. I don't know if you want to add anything further, Kimar, in this particular area before we move on. If you're talking, we muted. You're muted if you're speaking. All right, till I hear, I can unmute. Tell me I could. Okay. He chose to mute, so I can't unmute him. The other thing we want to touch on, or one of the other things we want to touch on, Kimar, and I hope everyone here will accommodate me with what I'm about to say, is that I received some sad news that over the weekend we experienced another teenage suicide. And it's heartrending, heartbreaking to hear of these cases that are occurring. And it would appear that the young lady was a very close friend of one of my colleagues' son. And they expressed to me that just on Friday, she had taken part in a swimming competition, swimming sports, and then it would appear that she took her life. And what the person said to me, that she had expressed how unhappy she was. And so I hope that all of you on the forum tonight would give me a moment to just say a word of prayer for her family. Caswell, I think that would be fitting and in
Yes.
place. If we could do that, Kimar, if it would be okay that we could say a word of prayer for her family, because it's tragic, it's sudden. My heart pains. I have children. I have grandchildren at 18 years old, so it really, really was saddened. I was sad to hear of it. So if you permit me, um, I would like to just say a word of prayer for the family. Father, we just come to you this evening in the name of Jesus, and we lift the family of this wonderful young lady, oh God, Kenya, who committed suicide, Lord Jesus, just over the weekend. And Father, we pray for not only the family, but we pray for all of the school colleagues, Lord, that she would have been with in last week and even Friday, rejoicing and having a good time at their sports. And we pray, Father, that you would be a comfort to the family, comfort to the school colleagues, Lord, and Father, give us the wisdom to know what it is we need to do and to provide, oh God, to help to alleviate this matter that seems to be becoming increasingly present in our country. So we ask, Father God, to be with them tonight. Grant comfort to them in the days ahead, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Praise God. Thank you so much. Yes, we offer condolences to her family. This is Kenya's family and to her school colleagues. I'm sure it must have left them in a shock, to have just experienced sports with her just Friday, and then to receive the news of her passing is saddened. I was almost moved to tears, Caswell, to be honest, because I often say when you have children, it's one thing, but when you have grandchildren, it's another. And so, I have a grandson at 18 years old, another one at 16, and so we want to look, if it is at all possible, for a few minutes at this issue that is leading to the mental agony and stress of so many young people, that is leading them into these kind of things. What Kimar and Caswell, what would you suggest as some of the things that we could do, in your opinion, to help to alleviate some of these psychological stresses that our young people are clearly carrying?
Well, I am not speaking about this situation because I know nothing about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
What I can tell you though is that the entire country is under a lot of stress. And
Yes,
if you
yes.
have parents who are under stress, the children will get it. It's almost like being contagious. And if your parents can't provide the things that your other colleagues, your other schoolmates and stuff have, you know, that is also going to be one of these burdens on you,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
you go into school and you can't keep up. You
Yes,
know,
yes,
what we
yes.
what has happened is that a lot of people don't take their children to church anymore,
Hmm.
and they
Hmm.
don't teach them even the values. One time, Sunday school
Yes,
was a big thing. You had to
yes,
go to Sunday
yes,
school,
yes.
and that, not know people don't know. If you call the name Jesus Christ, some young people think you're cursing because
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
no knowledge of who he is, who or what he is, because they have never set foot in the church. Their parents have never taken them to church, and they do not know. I used to sit in a class where children from um, several different schools, but because they used to use my office as a place for whole lessons. So I would be in there sitting down and I would hear, and if the teacher made biblical references, none of them knew what he
Hmm.
was talking about. Well, not none, but one or two might. But the
Hmm.
majority of them did not know Christ or know anything about Jesus Christ. And
Hmm.
I think that is one of the things that we have to get back to.
Yes,
So as
yes,
to teach our children some sort of grounding, some sort of moral
yes,
values and stuff, because
yes,
um, you know, it is happening too often where children think that
yes, yes.
their lives are so
And so young.
expendable, that
Yeah, and so young.
expendable. You see,
Hmm.
because it is almost like, as again, catching, because other people do it, so it is oh, there's easy way out. Well,
Hmm.
I'm telling you, that, sometimes when people do these things, they have remorse just before it finishes. Like a guy who tried to hang himself,
Hmm.
and when he realized something, he tried to fight back, but it's too late. So you have to teach values, and there's too much pressure on the little children,
Hmm.
pressure from the past, the common entrance,
Mhm.
pressure to get into
Mhm.
Harrison College and Commonwealth
Mhm.
and those places, you and the teachers leave back
Mhm.
children,
Mhm.
right? Because if you are in the class, you're holding them back, they're gonna leave you. Because I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
show that I get more of my children in the good schools
Mhm.
than everybody else.
Mhm.
So children are under a lot of
A lot
stress.
of stress.
And if
Yeah.
and the thing is, leave them alone. When you see the results out, nation, your B, type Barbados there, that is putting even more pressure on these children,
Mhm.
you know. And when you pass common entrance exam and you haven't gone away yet.
Yes, but Caswell, I've listened to a few of these shows, and I guess in a rightful manner, sometimes the church takes a lot of flack for some of this, but I'm always reminded that the church is a conglomeration of people who have families. And we preach as best we can in terms of messages and so on in our services, but at the end of the day, it's left up to the individuals who attend the service to take what we are teaching now back with them and communicate that within the context of their families. When we talk about the hope that you can find in the Lord, and so on, it is up to the person sitting in our congregations, because we won't see those family members. You know what I'm saying? We won't see those people at work that
No,
sometimes you
I am
sit
not
next
blaming
to.
the church. I'm not
Yeah,
blaming the church and this one. I'm not blaming the church and
yeah.
this one because the church will only have influence on you if you get there. I'm blaming the
Yes,
parents who
yes,
don't take
yes.
the church, who don't take the children to school. Like even as a little boy, even if you didn't go to church, you know,
Hmm.
if as the parent says in school, though,
Hmm.
but it
Hmm.
isn't happening now,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
you know,
Want
and
to take this moment? Want to take this moment just to welcome Marcia to the show. Your show, Marcia. So we want to make sure we welcome you to your show. It's
Listen,
so nice to have
I am
you.
just listening, and this is great. And seeing Mr. Franklin with that wonderful haircut, and listen,
Yes.
he needs to get a night off or something. A man looking sharp, sharper than a razor. But let me let you. Don't lose your
yeah.
train of thought. You were going good. I'm just
No,
filling
no,
in.
no, I'm not going to lose
Yes,
my train of
yes,
thought because I've been thinking about this for a long time. We
yes,
have to get back to the basics. What made Barbados great was God, you know.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
when you forsake God and everything else, what is happening now? Because our gods have become the BLP and more so than the LP, so people do more worshiping of the Prime Minister than they worship God. Our, our God has become money, and
Hmm.
possessions. As
Hmm.
a boy growing up, people in our district didn't go hungry if you had something, because you were shared. How many people share now? Because and they used to say your reward is in heaven. So you gave them because you know that you get a place in heaven anyhow. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Somebody care anymore about you. It
But
is it
this
is
is,
very strange, and one of the reasons why that is so too is um we have a lot of large communities that didn't that just happen. People make some buildings there and put people in them. They didn't put any facilities where they can go and have any sort of recreation. So you don't make friends. You can live next door to a fellow for 5, 6 years and live know who he is. Their children don't come outside and play with each other because they can't come outside now. So it is. There's a lot that brought us to this point that we don't have friends. We used to go and play together and ramble out in the gully together and go and catch crayfish and stuff. Nothing so don't happen anymore. The parents don't even let you out the house.
well, Caswell, you have the parents, and I'm looking around here. Oh, I think I found it. You have these have taken over from what you're talking about, and when my children were younger, and we were living in Trinidad, we locked off these things from them. We told them there was this particular point in time you couldn't use your game. Well, they had games back then. What they call them now. PlayStation and all that kind of stuff. And we said there was times you had to shut it off. I don't care where you were in the game, you had to shut it off and go and run around outside or whatever, But I really believe that we and I saw something up there just now, Marcia, about the government and the LGBTQT, because now you know, in the face of all the stress that the children are carrying, you now want to introduce what I would call an additional stress, because now
Yeah.
what you're trying to say is that the sex that you are, you ain't too sure you're that, because it's like, come on, man. Come on. How much more are you going to place on these young people who are already dealing with the post-pandemic issues
Yeah.
of life? You know what I'm saying? And now you want to bring the teachings of a totally warped mentality, a completely, I am not going to say how I think it, a completely wicked agenda that has no basis in science, none whatsoever. Now to try and make people feel, make children feel that they can now decide what they want to be. I mean, come on, man,
Yeah.
come on.
If I may add
Yes,
something
yes,
to
yes,
that,
yes.
gentlemen. I remember when we were writing we were directing the script, the play Speak Life. There's a
Hmm.
scene in there that deals with teenage suicide, and
Hmm.
actually, that was the first scene that I wrote, was on teenage suicide. I wrote that last year, well, actually, the end December 2022, and
Hmm.
that was the
Hmm.
first scene that was written. And when we started to rehearse it at the school, and we have, say, probably about 45 children, in the young people in the cast. That rehearsal was so heavy. I'm telling you, I couldn't rehearse. I couldn't rehearse. They were reading the script, and we were not going to rehearse it. We had to stop because
Hmm.
the heaviness that was in the room, in the studio, because I realized that a lot of them were not fully suicidal, but they were thinking their depression and all
Hmm.
of that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I mean, I got a little nervous, to be honest. And I didn't bother to do the script. We just talked, and we had some of the parents were there, and I think two or three, and they came in, and we sat down on the ground, and we talked with them. And what I did, I brought in a counselor, guidance counselor. I called someone with the head of the guidance council unit, and reached out to them to come in. I said, you know what, you all better send somebody in here, because we don't realize how depressed our young people are.
Hmm.
And it's sad to see that something of that nature would be banned by NCF, because it is. I have to insert this in, because really and truly, Speak Life is supposed to be helping young people with these various issues that they're going through.
Hmm.
And one of them is teen suicide. Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, Marcia, they're dealing with so many levels of pressure. I mean, they have their peer pressure already in school. I mean, we all know about this, in an effort to make you comply to certain aspects in school. But then you have now the pressure of this additional position where, your gender is now being questioned. You now get the introduction of a educational system that is trying to push you in a particular direction. Um, Casual, we were even engaging this matter of the schools, and one of the things that my mother was involved in was the aspect of trying to reduce the number of students in a classroom by increasing the number of teachers, so to speak, and giving the child the opportunity for a little more personalized attention, which I understand is something now that is also being discussed. I saw a clip recently by the not the minister, the person from education, chief education officer, with regards to it. We have new schools and so on coming in, but Marcia, that whole thing that you are speaking of. I mean, when I spoke with you concerning how the children who participated in the event, how it impacted them, I
Yeah.
wonder sometimes if those judges that are sitting in front of these young people understand what happens when you pull the rug from under them, so to speak, when they're simply trying to do their best.
Yeah. They become depressed, and that's what we were seeing. We were supposed to meet with them on Saturday, but we had, because of the rain,
Hmm.
we couldn't have a physical meeting. And I told them, I said, regardless of what happened, even if it's Zoom, we have to keep those children. You have to stay with them, because you have to remember, now they would have put out their very very best,
Yes, yes,
and then
absolutely.
they're also confused as well. So all of that, not that had anything to do with the young lady, as
Yeah,
Caswell said,
yeah,
we don't know what happened to
yeah. We don't
her,
know her
but
situation.
we don't know her situation. But the reality is that, children get depressed, and it's how we treat them and what we say to them and how we handle them. That it's like how we expected school, after what happened to them at Springer Memorial School. We expected that they were going to go back to school Monday morning. It's in our system. I was explaining to somebody overseas today that we have there's systemic abuse of our children, that we would think that they would be fine to just go back into school on Monday like they're robots. I think that's part of it. And us parents, we're part of that whole structure of abuse as well. As Caswell was saying, the way we, in terms of grades and academics and the pressure and all of
And the
that,
pressure, yes,
that we put
yeah.
on them, and the system, the education system, what we do.
You,
Yeah.
you see, look, there is no qualification to be a parent. You don't have to take any tests. You just have to be sexually active and fertile, and you can become a parent. And if you don't have the necessary skills, it can reflect in your children. And that is that's one of the problems that we're having too. Some of the parents that we're having nowadays just still need parents that and they don't know how to speak to their children. I was passing West Terrace School one morning. I took my wife to work and I was coming back home. And we had this little thing. You can see she was her first week or so in school. She's crying. She don't want to leave. So the lady dropped out of a car. You can see she was the grandmother. She could not be grandmother or aunt. She could not be the parent. She looked too old for that. Then she got a child at that age, something was wrong. And the child starts to cry, and she wanted, but the woman shouted at her. And and the little girl is in the middle of the crosswalk, don't know what to do. You know who went and talked to her and charmed her? The crossing guard. This is a guy, he's a kind of physically handicapped guy. And I think that is the best. He has the best job in the world for him. I remember before he was officially the crossing guard, he used to go by school in the one morning and help those
Hmm.
children cross. So the authorities that they saw him doing that, and they said, well, we can hire him because the school needed a guard. And he is wonderful with those children.
Yes,
And I,
yes.
I, I see him there, but that lady was rushing to get back to her car and left the little girl there. So and the little girl crying, don't want to go in school because the first day, you know, our first week jitters. Little children. I remember when I went to school myself. Um, I had brothers and sisters and stuff at school, so I didn't have to cry. I remember when I took my daughter to the nursery, I cried the first day, you know. But but
I didn't get a chance to cry because my mother was the head teacher. She took me to school.
you know. So but but we put too much pressure on these children, and you have people,
Yeah, yeah.
and the thing is, parents, and it is the way of the world. They don't have to know how to be a parent. They don't know how to train children, but you're there with that responsibility, and then because they don't get that moral backing from the godmother and the grandparents, because grandparents not working, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the
Mhm,
days the
mhm.
grandparents used to be home and having to take care of the children and stuff. Not no. Grandparents are 40 and they're gonna work too. And because the cost of living is so high, you need two incomes in a household to survive, you know. I know many
Yes,
times you had the father would go to work and the mother would stay at home and take care of the children and did more work than the man did when they were outside working, because trust me when I tell you, the hardest job in the world is being a stay-at-home mother. Ever tell
I
you?
can tell you that. Not that
I
I'm a stay-at-home mother. It's just I watch them because I am still gender male.
right?
Okay.
Look, I rem- I I remember when I had my first child. You know, I'm excited. You know, daddy is up, man. Like I feeling really good. So when I got vacation, I said, "No, boy, she ain't going to the nursery. I stay at home with my child, like, and keep this little child." Worst decision of my life. I At the end of the day, I was fagged up on the. What I had to do was to take the mattress off the bed, put it on the floor, and lay down on it, because I would be there tired and dozing off. And the little child walking all about the place and playing my face. And I too tired because it's a really hard job. I never realized how hard mothers work until I went and pretended I could get the job done myself. Can we tell you? It's one of the hardest jobs in the world. I wouldn't wish it on any man. You know?
I can Let me tell you something. I must tell you that for a large portion of my children's early life, I was rarely there, and I have to publicly commend my wife. And I think Marcy, you would know her. She is, and casually you would know Julia
Yeah,
so
I
very
know
well.
Julia, but
I will tell you, if it was, she is the cement. I am telling you, she is the cement of our entire family. Even though she's overseas right now, she's still bringing everything together, still coordinating everything together, even though she's overseas. And to be honest with you, I don't know what I would do without her. I would probably be at Black Rock, you know.
don't worry,
But
don't worry.
but
I will bring coconut water for you on Sundays.
but you're so true, Caswell. The pressure that these children are under, even to perform. I have a little grandson, and I was telling his mom, wonderful young lady, my daughter. I was telling her, identify the skill, identify his interest. Don't try to push him into something that, like maybe some of our parents would have done. Caswell wanted us to be doctors and lawyers, and didn't look at our skills to see what we possessed. But he is 10 years old. And if you see the things that he puts together with a Lego set, if you see the things he designs, the boats, the planes, the car, without any script, without any diagrams, nothing. And I was telling his mother, I said, you need to pay attention to this, because this young man could probably be an engineer and a designer in the future. And you need to chart his skills and whatnot toward that area, rather than putting pressure on him to become something that his skills and abilities are not showing. And to me, a lot of what the church contributes here is in our teaching. And I keep saying, people think that the church is just the spiritual leadership, but we need to remember the church is people, and parents and fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers. And so they need to take that teaching that we are able to give them back home and put it into practice. Don't force it on anybody or anything. But the one of the things Jesus said is, "By this shall all men know you're my disciples, not by miracle signs and wonders, but by love." And it's a difficult thing to fight love. Uh, when children are going through depressive states, they need to be loved, they need to be embraced, they need to have somebody who will give them a listening ear. And that person cannot be judgmental. You know what I'm saying? That even if they're wrong, you stay there with them. So, because this is an area that is of deep concern to me, and I must say, Marcia, Kemar, and Caswell, that I wish more of my spiritual colleagues would preach more relevant messages to
Well,
what
I'll,
Yeah.
is happening in people's lives today. I really
I-
wish we would do
I'll tell you one of the reasons too why some children don't have the guidance because the parents are not around to give guidance. We have a situation in Barbados right now, mostly in the hotel industry. You come in and serve breakfast, right? Mornings you gotta leave home early enough to 7 o'clock to get people's breakfast on the tables. And then there's a lull in there. So they say you work split. So you go home or you go down the road because depending on how far you live, you can't get home. Then they come back the evening so you can serve dinner. So at those two crucial times when your children just woke up and when they're getting ready for bed, you are not there because the hotels have taken up more than half of your day. And that system should be outlawed. It does not give you family time. We have a situation, even in the prisons, where officers are working 12 hours a day. And if you're working 12 hours a day, you can only get home for the night and peep in the bedroom and see the child there sleeping. And then by the time your child wake up, you are on your way to work again, and the child might not see you because the child hasn't wake up yet. And this is things that even government is doing to its workers. And so all of these things combined, you won't be surprised if these children get guidance from people who should not be guiding them, because your mother in there, your father in there, you're gonna find somebody, and that somebody gonna be somebody who wants to sexualize you, who want to use you for criminal behavior. So, but you don't have that. You don't have that guidance, and we are seeing it, but we pretend that it's not happening. All right, because the almighty dollar is worth more than somebody else's children. One of the things that COVID did was to stop supermarkets from opening so late at night, and I was glad about that. Because supermarkets were open to 10 o'clock at night, and you're working at 10 o'clock at night, you got children. Who gonna help the children with the SBAs? Who gonna help them with the homework? Who going to listen to them and talk about what happened at school? Because I remember my children would come home and tell me about everything. I knew all the children in my children's classes because I knew everything that they did, because I used to sit down and they would talk to me and talk sometimes. I used to force myself to listen to some of it, because I said, if I don't listen, a nugget might come up there and I might miss it. So I might endure the whole thing to make sure that I got that they see that I'm paying attention to them, But we are not having that. Work is taking too much of the people's time. No guidance from the grandparents and stuff and the godmothers, and no church. What do you expect? The society will decay. Because look, even if you don't have a father around, in our Caribbean societies, in most cases, the mother is the person who responsible and disciplined and everything else for children. I remember my mother had a habit of beating me almost every day. I call it a habit, but she thought that she was doing some good for me. I probably did too. I think my father struck me about 3 or 4 times, I remember. And 2 of those when he was old and senile, and he said, put 2 lashes on me. But my mother would be there with the belt, and when I was 16 years old, my girl took me in the stick man and put a few lashes on me, and you can't run because you gotta get back home midnight. So you can protect them, But now, and also, one of the things that was happening here, simple things that you might tell your child that was a big thing for me. Now they call it child abuse, because we go and study overseas and hear a lot of American concepts and bring them back here and destroy our children with them. I'm not talking about parents abuse the children, all kind of stuff, but we have social workers and child care officers and all kind of stuff who, even though they grow up in this society, go to universities overseas and come back and import that nonsense. Just like the Prime Minister saying the education system overseas are coming and import that or want to import it, we are having that same problem. So the children are under so much stress, under so many stresses that no wonder. But we need somebody to talk with them.
Hmm.
Somebody has to sit down and be able to talk with those children because they're going through a lot too.
And
They have feelings.
Caswell, somebody asked, I was just trying to find it, Marie, not Maria, Marcia just had a thing up there, number of depressed primary age children. And someone before had asked, what is the church? Let me see. How are the churches, any denomination, engaging on supporting the youth in Barbados? I know a number of them are facilitating sports in terms of even community sports. I know when I was at the cathedral, we used to have basketball on a Friday nights, basketball and volleyball on a Friday nights. And you know what happened as a result, Caswell? A lot of those young people that came to play basketball and came to play volleyball in the yard, because at night, your lights would go away and we would begin in service at 7 o'clock. Inevitably, a lot of them made their way into the church after they finished sports. They would sit in the back, along the back area of the church and so on. And then, as I stood on the platform Friday after Friday, I would see them gradually moving forward. And, many of them would come then play the volleyball and whatnot, and then go and bathe and put on some clothes and come into the service. And then the next thing we would see them at the altar, and the next thing they would given their lives to the Lord and gone on to be great young men and great young men, because it was more of the boys. But I know a number of churches are doing that. A number of us offer training in different aspects for young people. Individually, I myself try to do as much as I can in terms of helping them to know how to go about developing entrepreneurship and so forth, type of thing, encouraging them if they're in business to look into things like the Small Business Association. I encourage several of them to look into matters to do with what used to be the BIDC, but I think is now what Export Barbados. These kind of things. And even up to this afternoon, I was talking with a young man here in the Cayman Islands, and I was telling him, don't restrict your ability to just within the country, but explore things outside of the country. I gave him a couple of uh, of of sites to visit and so forth. So I do know that a number of churches are trying, but what I think is needed is a more, I saw somebody put it down earlier too, a more community effort,
Yes.
because we talked about years ago of it takes a village to raise a child. And as I was walking home, I could not be disrespectful walking home to people in my district, because they would drop a good lash at me. And when my mother came home, or my father came home, and they would report to him, what happened after that,
You get
you
the
know,
rest.
you get the rest.
Okay.
So I think there is a
Jump
need.
in, make a comment
Yes,
here.
Imar, I would love to hear your take on some of this stuff, please.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing some of what's being said. And as a young person in Barbados, I think sometimes we make the error in just equating youth issues. The solution to it is always some type of sport,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Uh-huh.
a,
Yeah.
rec-
Okay.
a recreational activity.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
a lot of the problems that young people are having stem from the financial problems that their parents are having. Right?
Right. Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So parents lack the ability to earn income, have specific skills. So most of the families who have wealth, they also pass on their generational skill and teach children how to make income, how
Yes.
to
Yeah.
earn income.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They pass on businesses, but there's no pass on of knowledge or there's no pass on of information in the black community in Barbados, really. In the Indian Muslim community, that's not so.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the white community, that's not so. In the Syrian community, that's not so. In the other minority communities in Barbados, that's not so. Right? When COVID hit Barbados, the majority of people on the Bright Line were black Barbadians. I didn't see any Indians applying for severance. I didn't see any white people applying for severance. Right? But they still live in Barbados and participate fully, even more than the black population. what you had was the Muslim Indians giving out hampers to people, right? The different communities coming out and giving out hampers. So the minority is given to the majority. So that should say something to the people, right? The problem with Barbados is that the education system prepares you to work in a country that is still caught in a 1980s, 1990s loop, where growing up and getting a job to go and become a public servant was the creme de la creme, a social upliftment.
Uh-huh.
That's not so anymore. So unless you get in a job in the top level of the civil service, which would pay you adequate sums, getting a civil servant job nowadays ain't worth it because the money don't stretch. The money is not stretching, right? The treatment is not there, right? So you have children going to school hungry to start. They don't eat breakfast, right? Which means automatically their minds are disturbed. So they're restless going into schools, right? Some of them go to school with no money, right? So they have to go to school and either ask a friend, stay hungry. Some schools tend to provide some assistance along the way. A lot of them steal to get money to feed themselves. Uh, there's abuse going on in the homes. So the pressure that way, then let's not forget that there are teachers in the system treating the children badly, right? You made the point about peer pressure as well. So you have young children who also have to be financially viable in households and that the parents can't afford to send them to school, so they gotta find ways to send school themselves. Right? So when they finish school now, the parents were not able to transfer any knowledge or skill to give them to earn income, sustainable income, because the parents themselves don't know. And most of the time, the parents unemployed or caught in a low level job. Right? So Barbados isn't getting any better as it relates to overcrowding in homes. You know, we grew up in homes where there were 12 and 13, 14, 15, 20 people living in one home. We still have that in Barbados. Generations of families still living in cooped up households, one bedroom, two bedroom households, people sleeping on the floors, children sleeping in the chairs. There are people who still don't have running water in Barbados, still don't have electricity, still don't have access to Wi-Fi and internet. Right? People that have one school uniform, they have to come home and wash that uniform, put it on the line to go back to school tomorrow with that same uniform. Right? So all of these factors, and if you look at the family construct in Barbados, we have mostly single parent homes headed by females. Right? So all of these factors compounding on the fact that there's no state resources available to, I would say the state shows great apprehension in channeling resources to tackle these issues. What they're really doing is just putting people on welfare programs and hoping that that will cure the issue. No, it's not. It's not curing the issue, right? It's making it worse. So my thing is, if we have people living in Barbados who go to the same schools as us, they don't necessarily go as far as us as it relates to educational children. Their children could finish school in fifth form and they become the heads of corporations and they become the heads of big businesses and they could go in rooms and sit down and speak and negotiate with governments and big businesses and have opportunities. That is not the case for the majority of Black Barbados, right? So there's systemic issues pressuring young people in Barbados, I mean children as far as young in primary school, struggling because the parents struggling themselves. The parents want opportunity to be have social mobility, but the government through its economic policies are basically killing the parents, right? So unless we get a program, a government program, state program directly targeted at family and rebuilding the family structure, so you can put back two incomes in the households: a mother and father income, not father and father or mother and mother income, but a mother and father income, right, in households, which allows the or it would ease the pressure financially in terms of what they have to do. It would help the children a lot. And we also have to get programs. Got people talking about the churches, but education is necessarily the role of the church. The role of the church is salvation for your soul, or should be salvation for the soul, right?
Well, I
But
would beg to differ. I would beg to differ with you on that.
right,
Trust
but
me.
all right, but
But,
right,
you go ahead.
I
You
saying
go
it's
ahead.
the soul. I'm not saying it's the sole role, but the primary role of the church should be there to win souls for the Lord, right? Education happens in schools. Look at the gibberish we teach the children. Pythagoras theorem and all types of theorems that we don't even use, right? Basic arithmetic, basic arithmetic. We
Basic
don't teach the children.
English, biggest English literature.
English language, deportment, character, public speaking, writing. These basic skills we lack in Barbados. I'm talking about, as guys would say, big adults, straight down to the primary school level. And the schools are not tackling these issues with direct intervention. So if you're in a classroom, 30 children, you recognize that 15 of them struggling, 10 can't read. They don't focus on those children, you know. They pick up the 5 or the 6 that excel and work with them and forget the rest.
Yeah, yeah.
Because teachers have favorites. The system has favorites, right? On top of that, when you do not excel in the traditional skills, math and English and those things, people tell the children that they're dumb, that they might be stupid or whatever, but there are other skills of which children can learn. We have, look at Rihanna. You have Thierry Gill, a big world footballer, right? There, we have some of the best musicians in Barbados on playing instruments. Look at Suki King, one of the best draft players in the world, right? You know how to go to school and learn how to play draft, per se, but he turned out to be one of the best draft players in the world. But in his pursuit of playing draft, he still was not rewarded financially by the state. They did nothing for it. So if you do not excel within the traditional academic sense, there's nobody in Barbados, including the government, providing any opportunity for you to grow. And if you do take the traditional route, the government is then strangling you in terms of paying taxes because the government continues to raise the taxes specifically on the middle income earners and crushing them to a point that they're actually reverting back to being poor, where people now have to decide well which utility bill I can pay this month. I can pay light and water, but I can't pay the phone, or I can pay a phone and water, but I can't pay the light. That's the reality of a lot of people in this country, and especially the children have to bear the consequences of that.
You said something there, and that struck me, but I didn't interrupt because I wanted to let you finish. And know that you like make a pause. I am going to say to you that you are absolutely right, but most of the things that you said, if not all, because you are talking about the little children who have to find ways to support themselves because the parents aren't working or things like that. I know of such a case, and this little boy is so industrious. He's 14. He wants to go to school. I give him a couple of sheep, some chicken. I buy chicken feed for him and stuff, anything. And he goes to school. He carries to school some things that he buy, lollipops and stuff. So he go and sell them at school. And he got his principal saw him telling him suspended for a week at Leicester Vaughan School a couple of weeks ago. You know, she didn't inquire why is he doing this. I'll call the parents and say, "We discuss this with you." The parents finally get suspended when he get home. You know, and we have too many square pegs as principals, and try to that fella. Trust me when I tell you, he will not become any great academic teacher at university or anything like that. But he plants stuff. He rears animals. This is a 14-year-old child, and He sell things during the vacation. You see him selling water, buy a case of water and go and get some icy thing and put them in a cooler and sell them outside the road. He does all of that. And the principal decides, no, you can't sell in my school and sell him home. So that is one. And the thing is, he is under pressure, but he has a level head. So I don't expect him to do anything. But people don't understand what you're talking about, Kimar. They don't live it. Their realities is that they went to school in the daddy's car, and they went to university and come out and they become a teacher, and then they become a principal because they know the minister, and they have no concept of what those children are going through. Children who wake up in the morning and don't get breakfast. Some people might know of it, but we have a lot of people who don't have a clue. And you see these children misbehaving, and you think that they are just want noise and all kind of things. Children are speaking out, but you're not listening. You're not hearing their language. You're not understanding what they're saying. And then in terms of peer pressure, well, I never suffered from peer pressure. I was the body used to put the pressure on, and but it is very real, you know.
Well, I want to say this. I want to say a couple of things too here.
Mr. Reverend, just one thing here. There's a lady been trying to call in from last night, and she's on the
Yes,
line. So I just letting you know. So she's waiting.
right.
So if you're making a point, to,
Well,
yeah.
very quickly, I just wanted to say, Kimar, the church. The problem with the church is that salvation is more than saving a soul from going to hell and going to heaven. Salvation is about deliverance. Salvation is about being set free. Not just the winning of souls, but the establishment of the personality and the purpose of the individual, which is what the church needs to expand its understanding of carrying out the mandate of Jesus Christ and preaching the gospel. A lot of people just preach the gospel and think it's just about getting souls saved, but it's actually about the comprehensive development of the human individual. And I just want to quickly say that. The second thing I want to quickly say too is that sometimes parents facilitate some of these issues with children and finances. And let me explain quickly. Years ago when I first started to work for BMW at Detco Motors, I had a little boy steal my computer off of my desk, and I knew he was from Charles F. Brooms because I recognized the uniform. And they were having a sports day right after. A couple of days later, and I went up at the National Stadium, identified him, the police arrested him and carried him down. And we discovered that he was collecting items because he was a part of a group too that was going into like Cape Shepherd, and they would call for one thing on one side of the what do you call the things, the places where you display things. And his people would go around on the other side, and when the call over there, they would take the things and put them in his bag in his bag. And when the CID people came in and to identify my computer, they informed me that he was doing what he was doing to feed the drug habit of his mother. And that these are some of the things that a lot of these little children in our communities are being faced with. And as you said, Kimar, the aspect of financing drugs, there's a whole lot of things that are coming to bear that bring pressure upon the family. And I feel that as a community, we need to be engaged in it from all sides: parents, church, community groups, everything coming together to try to engage it. And somebody had posted earlier about the fact that you've heard me speak to this. I would like candidates to have constituency meeting and not party meetings, where the constituents can meet with you and tell you the challenges they are facing, so that as a constituency it can be addressed. Anyhow, let's take this call, Marcia, because if the person has
Okay.
been trying, let's take the call and see what it
Yes.
is.
Okay. Kathy.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, please. Good night.
Okay.
Go
Good
ahead.
night, Kathy.
Good night, Marcy. Good night, Daniel. I have
Can we hear her? Okay. Can we hear her?
Yeah, I'm hearing her a
I'm
bit.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead, Kathy.
right. Just to take you guys away a little bit from the topic, which is an important topic that you're dealing with, to address the issue that I have had to the rather dealing with the present, and that is the issue of the fuel charge adjustment. I received my
The
last
issue of
month's
you
bill
said the fuel charge adjustment,
Fuel charge adjustment, yes.
on
the fuel
bill.
clause. Okay, the clause adjustment. Yes.
Right. I recently received, not recent, this is in October's bill, and it was the highest ever electricity bill I've ever had to deal with. And I went to the company, and the lady there was explaining to me the breakdown of the bill. And she's saying to me that really and truly, my electricity bill is about $70. The bill came in at $235. And she said the fuel charges were $167.
Wow.
That's more than twice the bill. And I'm like, how can this be? How possible? And she said other people were coming in and complaining about it. And I can only see this becoming a bigger issue if we either don't understand what's going on and do something about it, or I don't know what to say, but I have the bill to pay. So I don't know if the panel can address that issue and how my bill can be reduced if possible.
Right. Okay. So hang on there. So you're saying that your bill was 200. I think it's on here. Can we make it a little bigger, Mr. Reverend Nichols? You had it big. Yeah, it was. Yes. So let's see the bottom. It was 235.
Yes.
Oh no, 228.
That's the factory discount.
Discount. So it's really 235.76, right?
Yes.
And then $70 of that was the actual electricity bill.
That is what the lady after breaking up the bill showed me.
Right, and because you went to Light and Power.
You adjustment clause is so high. They say that they have to wait every month for the government to take to them the value of this fuel adjustment, and then they add it to the bill. And she said to me that it was increased on top of the increase the month before by 12%.
Oh, so the fuel clause was increased by 12% from September.
Yes.
Okay.
September was an increase, and then she said another 12%. And she took the time to take me through the bill, which didn't give me any real satisfaction, but they still have the bill to pay. So can you guys address that issue? And to us who need that help in terms of dealing with that type of
okay. Before they answer, can I ask a question? What was the bill? What was your bill? Because it was now $235.76. What was it? Give me an average of the bill the months before. Just an average.
I don't remember the month before because I was trying to find that particular bill. But the one before that was, I think it was $70.
Wow.
The one before that would have been like $95. So an average, say 90, 95, anywhere around there, give or take, something lower, up.
So it was less than 100. Less than 100, and then it just went up to 235.76. Yeah. Okay. I just want to get the information and then over to anybody who wants to talk about this. It's Caswell, like he's ready.
You know, this is a national scandal. You see, Emera bought Light and Power from the people of Barbados.
I'm not hearing.
You're not hearing. Okay. All right. So what you can do, yes, is just go ahead and you can just listen to the program now because we're going to discuss it. Thank you, Kathy, for calling. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Emera bought the Light and Power Company not to be a social agency for Barbados. They bought it as an investment to make money because it will make money. It will always make money. Government was short-sighted because they needed money. and they sold because National Insurance was one of the largest investors in the Barbados Light and Power. National Insurance didn't need the money, but the government needed the foreign exchange, and they sold this thing. The America comes in, got you over a barrel, and want to make the most money, biggest bang for their buck. They don't invest in training, as much training as the old fellas used to do. They don't invest in maintenance because you see how many poles around the world are leaning. They are just into money. So when they are not making the kind of money that they want to make, they find a way to tell you what is fuel adjustment nonsense. It's not fuel adjustment because you can pay $111 like to generate $70 in power. What kind of nonsense you're telling me? That is unrealistic. But we have put our destiny, our futures in these people's hands. Light and Power was mostly owned locally, and locals were taking care of local people. But now the Emera, which is a Canadian company, they don't care anything about Barbados or West Indies because they bought it. Like power companies down the islands too, and we are at their mercy. And when they can't get the increase as the last time the Fair Trading Commission said, no, this is what they're doing. These need an investigation. These need a commission of inquiry. These don't need a hearing. These need a commission of inquiry and or a criminal investigation against them because what they have done can only be termed as criminal. This is fraud.
Hey, I want to jump in here. Uh, I just want to read exactly what you pay for when you pay a light bill. There's something called a customer charge. Then there's something called an energy charge. Then there's something called a fuel charge, the fuel adjustment charge. And then there's VAT that we pay on these bills, which are charged at 7.5%. Right?
Well, two VATs, one at 7.5 and then one at 17.5.
Mhm. So what what the challenge is here, casual blame in mirror, but you can't blame a mirror for the fuel adjustment. That's government. Right? So the high cost of energy uh in these particular circumstances is as a result of government policy on fuel. So the fuel adjustment clause goes up to reflect international oil prices. So when the price of oil go up, obviously the price of the importation of the oil has to go up on the side of government. Right? So then it got to recoup these costs. The government increases the fuel charge so that they can recoup these investments. Right? The problem with this is that the government has too much flexibility. That if you are buying oil internationally, right? Government does not absorb or can't absorb these costs really. So they pass it on to the consumer and they ask the general public to pay for the importation of that oil. So to get electricity, you have to pay, or the Emira will use oil to generate and to run its plant, run its programs, run its machine, get the electricity to you, right? So it is a factor of their productive cost. But what the government is doing here is inserting, the government actually gave up the revenues when it sold over in mirror, the direct revenues to collect indirect revenues, and the indirect revenues are coming from the same fuel adjustment charge and VAT. Right? So government don't collect the cost of electricity anymore, but they collect the taxes on VAT and they collect taxes through the same fuel adjustment charge. So if the prices of oil drop now, the government could drop these charges. The problem with this is that Barbados seems to buy oil from the most expensive places in the world. I can't get that understood, right? We actually went to sell our oil terminal. We went to sell our oil terminal and you would have had one company basically owning the Barbados National or Terminal Limited. Right? And if that had happened, then this fuel adjustment charge would have gone skyrocketed in the air. And Saul would have ended up with a complete monopoly over the oil industry. But Rubis further injunction and blocked it. Right? Now, if the importation of oil, or if the government does not manage the importation of oil and it gets into private hands, what you're saying is chump change compared to what they can charge. Because the government can't come directly up and give Light and Power what they're asking for, which is the rate increase. And that's what the attorney will, when she comes on the show Friday, hopefully she'll address that. The rate increase that Emira is seeking is a direct, to benefit from the direct uh, cost electricity, to increase the actual rate. But what the government is doing is basically siphoning off the top through the fuel adjustment charge. So this is like a tax. This is like a tax that the government is putting on the revenues of the Light and Power.
No, let me get in here, please. The fuel adjustment charge is the charge that the Light and Power claims that they pay for the fuel, and they divide it among the people that have electricity, and they said that they don't make money from it.
But the government is the person who controls the rate that this is charged at.
No. The government not control the rate this charge at. What this is done, the government by control the cost of fuel, but the fuel adjustment charge is they pay so much and so much for the importation of the fuel to generate electricity. That electricity, they say, well, we do not make money from the fuel adjustment charge because they say, well, look, we pay this and we divide this money, some ratio among the people according to how much electricity you use. You apportion a part of that money to you. I dare say it cannot be that you are generating $70 in electricity, but you are paying $111 to generate $70. That does not make sense.
165, it says.
Right? It does not make sense. All right.
But Kazo, remember, but don't forget that the fuel, the charge is directly correlated to the cost for the importation of fuel, which
that is what should happen. That's what happening. That is not what is happening. Emira wants an increase, and they've been getting it, and they're putting it on there, and they're calling it fuel adjustment thing. They are making money off the fuel adjustment clause. They are making money off of it. They don't use normal diesel. They use the the cheap bunker C fuel. It's the cheapest fuel you can get that will still work to generate electricity, and it does not cost this amount of money. They are making money because they are not allowed to make it off the electricity. They put it on the fuel adjustment clause. Don't let anybody fool you. I know the government is full of crap and they do a lot of things. But this is not solely government's fault. Emira is cheating the system. That if you were making lemonade and selling it to people, and if you buy your sugar and your lemons, and then when you make that lemonade and you're selling it for 10 cents a glass, only to find out that you are paying $100 for your inputs, it doesn't make any sense. And that's what Emira is doing to us now. You are telling me it isn't worthwhile, but nobody does business like that. You cannot generate $70 electricity for $165. Does not make sense. They are cheating. And business take it, so they will and they don't stand up for themselves.
But you can recall that the government actually, I mean, they didn't really do nothing, but they said that they were not renewing the licenses for Emira, and they had a big article in the news saying that government actually broke the monopoly of the Barbados license power. Right? That's not 100% true, or they
It is,
explained it.
it is not even 50% true. They're breaking the monopoly.
Is that they created new categories of license and then turn around and give Emira the same licenses.
So that was
Right?
breaking the monopoly.
So they didn't really break the monopoly. So part of when the government started to make some changes, and I remember the time that the prime minister came up shouting that license power and telling them to get this fixed and that fixed. We still go through a lot of blackouts. Right? We go through the same faulty infrastructure, and they can't seem to get the process managed. And whenever a mirror and the government goes to negotiations, then the people gotta suffer because for some reason the current always going off, right?
But that is the tactic.
And
It's called a, in my business, it's called a strike.
yeah,
In my business, you call that a strike. Or
yeah.
it's a sick out. A mirror
Mhm.
is blackmailing the government to get what it
But
wants. If you can't get what you want, just know what the government can do.
but
The government can go out
but
of parliament and get rid of the Fair Trading Commission. You bet.
let's not forget that there are attorneys that are in the Barbados Labour Party who has or who have been the attorneys for Emira, right?
Yes.
And
George
they still
Walden
be
Penn and Company was the agent, was the attorneys for Emera. Not Emera was a foreign company, and you get attorneys to come do your business for you. As a matter of fact,
right.
that company was bigger in the business when you have other companies overseas, because when you hear that your attorney general is one of the people in that company and that law firm, you're going to want to go to that company because you will get things done. And I tell you, I
Mhm.
saw him still working. I went to his office and saw him still working at his law firm when he was supposed to be attorney general. I saw it with my own two eyes. You can't take it out of my eyes. So you would understand what's happening. This place is too corrupt for one little place. Sicily doesn't have anything on us.
But this is problematic for us as a country. As Gaz will say, our Attorney General was a partner in the law firm who were the attorneys for Emira, Eden Power.
We have too many conflicts of interest. That's a conflict of interest.
You remember
That
the
is
chairman? You
that is
remember
corruption.
the chairman of the Fair Trading Commission was also a partner in that law firm. That is why she could not sit
Yeah, but
in
that's
the red
conflict of
hearing,
interest. That all
and
of that is conflict of
she could
interest.
not sit on the red hearing and allowed Donnelly Carrington, an accountant, follows the teacher accounts. I don't know if he's the accountant, but he's the teacher accounts at Ellerslie and then at KFL. He ended up being deputy chairman, and then he felt it nice. And I argued to this day that you're going to be an attorney at law to thing. But people said, no, he wasn't the chairman. He was just chairing he was just chairing the commission. And I saw him sitting on there struggling, trying to be a lawyer at times because the place is corrupt. It is corrupt to the core.
So hold a minute. I'm trying to understand this, Mr. Franklin. So are we saying here that at one point the head of the Fair Trading Commission was on the board of Emira?
No, they were the legal, the chairman of the Fair Trading Commission. Her
Mm-hmm.
firm, her law firm,
Yes.
represents Emira.
Represents Emira.
But that's the
Wow.
same thing we had happen, Caswell, with the former Paradise Beach Hotel, and the current Prime Minister. When the government invested what, $120 million or something like that, but she's the attorney for down there.
But yeah, she
She,
was
she,
All of
there.
these
So
she,
are the
and then we
conflict.
have the conflict.
All of
So
these
hold.
are the conflict
I'm
of
just
interest.
just getting the facts here. So there are MPs. Are you saying, Mr. Franklin, that there are MPs who are on the board of Emira? Am I hearing that correctly?
No, I'm telling you that the MP, the MP George Walton Penn and Company were
Oh,
the legal representatives for Emira. But George Walton Penn was a minister in government, and Dale Marshall was is attorney general.
okay. So
And
the legal firm,
yes, the
they're
legal
part of the
firm.
legal
Yeah,
firm. I
yeah,
understand now.
they were partners, and I am telling you that they will get a lot of international business because the attorney general is a partner of that business, and he didn't stop being a partner just because he became attorney general. Because I telling you that I went into his office one day and saw him, and they're giving instructions. And
So is he still in this law firm?
But I don't know what they're doing now, because I can only tell you what I can
you
do what's
know at
happening
that
today.
time? Okay.
I can do what's happening today, but I know why he was attorney general, and has been attorney general for a long time. Because when you are in a law firm and you become a minister, you have to get farm out your law. You can't continue to benefit from it. Far less he was in there giving instructions and shouting at people. I saw him and heard him. So when you work in your law firm and then or do half day as attorney general, half day as a attorney your firm, that's what was happening in Barbados. So don't wonder if a lot of these international business gravitated toward George Walton Penn and Company. They were not any more special or better than the law firms in Barbados. But they had one advantage. They had an attorney general who was still straddling the fence.
See, we got all this stuff going on in Barbados, and we have no investigative journalists who are going to pursue it. Just Marcia, like they did not pursue your matter of disqualification. Not that I'm changing the subject. I'm talking about the fact that we do not have, and I know one or two of the journalists would tell me we keep asking about investigative journalists and so on. I'm talking about people who take this matter serious. I'm talking about people who play journalism. I'm talking about people who want to take these matters serious and they will investigate them to the core. But in a real sense, it's frightening, because then you're going to be you're going to have to face some pretty hefty individuals in terms of penalization.
Yeah. So what does this person? I mean, can you imagine though, when you think about it, if you
So
were getting
can they
your
go to the
bill
Fair
at,
Trade
say,
Commission?
I don't know, but my question is this: if you look at the impact on this family, if your bill was $90, try to imagine, and now it's now $236, 235.75, $236. Can you imagine what the hardship? Because that would be probably money for the groceries with the way how things are in Barbados. You know, what can this person do? What can this person do? What could she do really? I mean, she has to pay the bill, but who could she appeal to?
I really don't know, because you can't
Well,
appeal to government.
she should be able to appeal to her constituency representative, who's supposed to represent the citizens of the country. That's who she should be able to go to, and she should be able to have that investigated. That's where it
Yeah,
should start, Marcia. It should
but
start right there.
that is academic, because we know constitutional representatives don't represent anybody in Barbados. You know that.
Yeah, I know, but at least, I mean, what else can she do?
That
You
is that
can't.
is
She
that is
can't
that is
fight.
what should happen.
She can't fight the Light and Power, Barbados Light and Power by herself. Does she go to the Fair Trade Commission? Does she take the matter up with the Fair Trade Commission? Because I haven't checked my Light and Power bill. I mean, she can send me to check mine now, and I can assure you that if I check it and I see this madness of what, let me look back here. We are looking at
Yeah, can you put it
three
again?
energy.
Let me move this. Let me move this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking at three energy bills and two fuel adjustment. Sorry, three energy components and two fuel adjustment components plus two value-added taxes. I'm gonna let you see it again.
Now watch. You see what happens with our bills, that we have a lot of little other things to these little add-ons that way. Can I highlight it?
Yes.
Like you got a customer charge. What is a customer charge? Even with the gas meter, you actually rent the gas meter. You rent the meter out here, your house for the light and power take too. You rent that. And my argument is I do not need a meter. So why should I rent it? You can run the electricity straight to my house. It is you who need a meter, not me. So why am I paying for it? And the meter was on there so long. The meter was on there so long, I would have paid for it several times. Imagine my gas meter out here has been on for years. And I've been paying for that, paying for that, paying for that, paying for that. By this time, I would have bought 6. I don't need a meter. So why should we be paying for it? But no, they make you pay for it. So that's another like $12 because customer charge, but basically you're paying for the meter.
Yeah, but
Right.
as well, that's one of the drawbacks of privatization of public utilities. When you privatize essential public utilities like and we saw this in throughout the world, you always end up in a situation where the public utility companies know the strength they have over utilities like this. That if, for example, the government don't get them what they want, they would shut down the power grids in some parts of the islands and strategically strangle the economy. Right? So
So let a monkey go up on the lake, remember? Look up on the
yeah.
pole.
So
Yeah.
what we are saying here with this is essentially what they will do with the Barbados Water Authority. The same structure, the same privatization route, and this is where you will start to see all the different charges creeping in, which will increase the cost of water, right? But I am not changing the topic from water to like I
But
just
wait,
showing you
before.
the
Oh, I'm
structure
sorry. I
of
thought you were changing. Okay, because
no
somebody
no
sent
no
us
no
something. Okay.
right no right. I was just giving you the structure as to what happens when you privatize public utilities, right? So as opposed to light being a public good, light is now a private good,
Mm.
right? And the government inability to manage uh international oil prices and that the prices going up and they can't find cheaper oil in the way, these things will continue to happen. So every time oil prices go up, Emira has the ability to increase the fuel charge to recoup whatever monies they have to spend on buying expensive oil. So until we find a way to cut ourselves from the international oil prices, these things will continue to happen. So
You
if
remember the
tomorrow,
petrol? You remember the petrol carried?
yeah, they said they're signing a 2.0 deal.
When Arthur refused to join on to get cheap oil, while St. Vincent and other Caribbean countries went on, we like to spend big money in this country. This isn't no Mayor Motley. This was going back to Arthur's time. Even though she was there and she would have been part of the cabinet, we had the opportunity to get cheaper oil in Barbados, and we refused. We said no, we don't want it. And Venezuela was willing to give us cheap oil because Venezuela wanted friends in the world. And Barbados don't want nobody friends. Barbados wanted to go and
But
end up in the situation that we are in now.
Right. But remember,
but gentlemen,
you- you-
gentlemen, I am actually online right now looking at global oil prices. On the 11th, this is November, right? The 10th of November, oil prices stood at $75.59 a barrel, down from $85.07 back on the 30th of October. Have we seen a decline on fuel adjustment charges in Barbados that would reflect that?
No, they will tell
but
you that
remember,
they don't buy today. They will get that price sometime down the road because they buy the futures.
right. Agreeing with Castle here. The government don't buy oil like that. Sometimes the fluctuation in the market impacts the government positively and also negatively. If you get a cheaper price today, if the price goes up, it will not impact you. You will continue to get the cheaper price based off the contract that you bought, the future
Right.
contract that you bought.
Right.
However, if the price goes down, you still can't benefit from the price reduction. You still got to continue to pay the original upfront and agreed price. So that sometimes is the challenge with government, and that the government locks in contracts, and when the price goes down, they still can't get the benefits from it because they would have been locked in at that price. So if the government decides not to do short-term buying to benefit from a lower price, then they will go to find the foreign exchange to go and benefit from that lower price. But we don't have those type of resources laying around. So with the amount of money that we have available to buy oil, uh, the government usually buys when the price looks favorable at a reasonable cost. But if the price goes up or goes down, we don't necessarily get to rack in the benefit. Sometimes we lost more because of the price that we lock in at.
If I could read something here that someone sent, because we get messages on WhatsApp as well, and they said, "Hi, good night. Some of the reason for the high fuel charge is also due to pay the people that supply alternate power, which is more costly than the fuel used." I don't know if you guys, anybody understands that. I asked them to explain, but this is what I got so far. So, some of the reason for the high fuel charge is also due to pay the people that supply alternate power, which is more costly than the fuel used. So, is it the people that have the solar? I mean, how does that
No,
work?
no, that
Anybody?
I understand. I understand what she's saying, or what he's saying. That is not true. Simply because, let's say you put a system on your house, right? You can't use some of the electricity and then sell the rest that you don't use the light and power. Light and power will not allow you to use it first, or not. You cannot stay on their grid. You cannot stay on it. You got to sell all and then buy it back, and they buy it far cheaper than they sell it back to you. So I complained about that in the Senate when it was there, because light and power, I can't remember what the price was, but the prices were at the time of what they would buy your fuel from your electricity from you, and then sell it back to you cheaper, far more expensive than you they sell it to you. So you can't say, well, look, I'm going to power my home from my own resources, because what they do, if you do that, they will cut you off. You cannot remain upon their customers if you do that. And people still want to have the benefit of like about, just in case their system get mashed up or whatever has happened, and so light and power is ripping off people, and it don't cost you. And so what they're actually doing, because they're selling your power, and they're selling it to somebody, so they are not generate that. They don't use any fuel to generate that. All they're doing is receiving it,
Okay.
and they're selling it back to you. They're selling some back to you more expensive than they paid it to pay for you. So, and they're selling it to other people too. So there's not fuel in there. Mind you, I saw some nonsense where they said what he said, but it doesn't make sense to me, simply because if you generate so much electricity, you will, and you pay for it. You pay them for it, or whether the power paid you for it. How is that going to affect the cost that the power has to pay in fuel? It doesn't. What happens? They take some of that same electricity that you generate and sell it to Freddie, sell it to you, Marcy, and sell some to me, and sell back some to the person who's generated it and put it under their grid. So they are making money at every angle. You really feel that Busy Williams will go into business and go and get Williams Solar to make less money, or to don't make the money out of the top? Huh? It doesn't. That isn't so. You see, they know that bad business will accept anything they tell them. So they tell you so, and it sounds good, but they're ripping us off.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let me say, Reverend, that attorney Trisha Watson, she is one of the conveners.
Yes, yes.
She is going
The
to, and
interveners. The
interveners,
interven
interveners. Thank you. Interveners will be our guest on Friday, because there
Wonderful,
is a
wonderful.
yeah, there is a matter, Mr. Franklin. I don't know if you saw this, that she sent around. Actually, it was from her Facebook page, where just like the pension, they are trying to pull a fast one on the people of Barbados. This is the same Light and Power, the same company, and the Fair Trading Commission. It appears, I have to say, appears, and it's alleged that that they are seeming to be working together. So we're not sure if the Fair Trading Commission is really
Fair.
seeking to be
is
fair,
really fair.
um, or we don't know. And I'm not, I'm not pinning anything on anybody. I'm just saying that with giving the interveners 1 week to
To
be
go through
able to
that
look
big document.
over a document of two, I think it's 200 and something pages. It's something is fishy about it. It was fishy, just like the NIS. When I read it, I reached out to her because it sounded like the NIS when they were trying to pass it quickly. And the
And a
other
child
thing about
protection
it,
bill too.
and the child protection bill. The other
Yeah.
thing about it, Mr. Franklin, is that what they're saying is that they're not planning to do a public hearing. It must just be in writing.
Hmm.
And it's going to be and it's 1 week to go. So everything is too quick. It's quick, and it's away from public scrutiny. And I'm hoping that Barbadians will log on Friday, because this she's going to come and she's going to let us she's there to let the public be aware of what is happening. And I'm hoping that people will log on and really get into this.
No, these are things, we call on this program, Marcy, as you would recall, there were two key things, takeaways from this program: transparency and accountability. Those were two key factors in everything that we're dealing with. What we're demanding of government is transparency and accountability. And I'm saying demanding. I'm not. This is not a case of being nice. We elected you to office, and we deserve to have certain things placed before the people of Barbados for them to clearly see. There should be no backroom deals going on with anybody. I mean, why are we doing this? And why are people sitting idly by, allowing this and then complaining? A lot of people that will complain then when we have our marches don't turn out for the marches to protest these things. And what we're saying is that people need to get up off of their laurels and start to make their voices heard, not simply through a show like this, but by showing up when we do have the marches, because that's where government begins to pay attention, when they see you move from 110 people to 2 or 3 thousand people. And I really want to encourage persons, to get your family, get your friends when you hear. And I know we've taken a bit of a pause, and I think, Marcio, you've invited people off of this platform and forum into a grouping, I believe, to be able to begin to offer. I don't know if you want to take a moment, or would take a moment to just expand a little bit on that, where persons
Yeah.
can offer solutions, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's not even the idea really came from the people on the chat here, and I discussed it with
Yeah.
Mr. Franklin, who helped to refine the idea. But the idea came from the people, and it's a nonpartisan national strategy planning meeting. And
Hmm.
we have it on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. We had our first one, and we're going to have another one this Saturday at 10 o'clock. And one of the things that I love hanging around Mr. Franklin. He has a lot of wisdom, because we wanted, a lot of people were suggesting that we go straight ahead and have do a physical meeting. But I think doing it this way is the best way. going on Zoom first. And then you build, and then the idea is on the 21st, Errol Barrow Day, that we would have a big picnic. And but it'll be a working picnic. A working picnic. So it's going to be the same strategic, nonpartisan strategic planning meeting, but it will take the form of a social gathering with food and so on. And so we'll tell you more about the details of
Yes.
that as we go along. But people can log on if they go to the marciaweekshow.com. They will be able to find the link. The link will be there, that that people can find the Zoom link. The Zoom link is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They'll be able
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
find the Zoom link there, right? If they go there, go to that page. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to encourage. I mean, we have 424 persons on tonight so far, Marcia, 424, and I want to encourage every single one of you. You know, if there is an idea, something that we can contribute that would help to enhance the development of our country and help to reduce costs, those kind of things. Please go to the Marcia Weeks. Let me make sure I get it right, Marcia. www.marciaweeksshow.com. Is that correct?
MarciaWeeksShow.com. Okay, so it is. Let me bring up the oopsie, I touched the wrong thing there. But let me just it's MarciaWeeksShow.com, right? The
Right.
MarciaWeeksShow.com. And if they
And
go there, they would be, yeah. So look, it's
that's
right here.
Marciel. Let's see it.
Yeah, it's right here. Can you see?
Right.
It's
I
and you're
can't
gonna
pick up
go. Can't pick it up.
the
The
address.
THE.
Can't pick up the
Okay, it's
address
okay. I'm gonna put it. I'm hoping it
in the
will.
chat.
But it's in the chat. It's the MarciaWeeksShow.com, right? And Weeks is spelled Weekes.
KESSHOW.
Yes,
Okay,
the
I just
Marcia
put it. I
Weeks
just put it in.
Show.com, and you go and look under. If you look under events, you will upcoming events. You will see you will see it. Okay, actually, yeah. Let's do this.
Yeah, because I think it's important for us to, and I like the idea. That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, Marcia. I like the idea of the Zoom meeting because as I look through the people who are in attendance even tonight, we've seen people from Ontario, we've seen people from New York, we've seen people from London, who I think may have valuable contributions to make. And we want to make it possible for as many persons as possible to share their ideas, and then we'll vet the ideas and see what are some of the workable ones, and so on, things that can be engaged, probably short term, medium term, long term. You know, excuse me. So want to encourage you guys, go to there it is, the site is there, and you can follow what Marcy is saying concerning the registration and the Zoom link, and join us this coming Saturday morning. You said 10 o'clock. That's 10 o'clock
10 o'clock.
Atlantic.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, and it's just 2 hours. 2 hours of your time.
Right. And I think there's the aspect of breaking into groups, and groups that
Yes.
you may be interested in agriculture, you may be interested in finance, you may be interested in health or education. There'll be different groups where you can contribute your particular idea in the area that you may feel most passionate about. So let me encourage you to do so. Marcia, I'm going to turn over to you. We are at 9:43. We still had some other areas to touch on, but I'm sure that in the upcoming shows we'll have opportunity to deal with that, because I saw something come through from Facebook to do with less than 24 hours to stop 79 nations from signing the abortion CSE Transgender Sexual Rights Treaty with the European Union. And I'm sure that Wednesday upcoming, we'll have contributions there. But we just want to say how happy we are to have had you, Caswell, on tonight, because we had heard that you weren't well, and Kimar as well. We know it's a lot to be able to do all the research. Kimar, brilliant young man, excellent. God bless you, young man.
I'm still not up to my usual 80%, but I'm getting back there. I'm not 100%
Wonderful.
now for a long time, but 80 is good enough. But
Yes.
I at 80%, I still feel good. But I
Yes.
but you know what was frustrating, Marcy, you wouldn't have heard the thing, but man, they stopped, like they tried to block my Facebook today. They stopped my email. I had to fight to get them back, all kind of stuff. They're really trying to stop me from talking. I don't know why. I talk too much. I you know I had to call Dave, and Dave tried 3 times to get me on to the show tonight.
Yes,
It
yes.
was
Well, I think I messed up. I messed up with that because I created the show for Wednesday, and I sent you the wrong link.
because
But yeah,
I thought that was part of the whole process with
because you were having
blocking my getting my
you
email
were
down too.
you were having trouble the whole day. The whole day. I've been having trouble with the Marcia Weeks on the Facebook, which I have a feeling that I might lose my Facebook page very soon. I'm not that I'm speaking negatively, just what I've seen. Because when I try to put the shows on there, for the last couple shows, it's not. I have to do it several times. And at one of the nights, people didn't even realize, but that came off completely. And that sometimes starts to happen when people start to report the page. And I think that's some of that. So I understand what you're saying, Mr. Franklin. It's part of it. I tell you this, I didn't tell you, but when I was going through to Poland, I was traveling with another person, another Bajan person, and we were going to Poland. And every time they would stop me, it was a joke. They said, "Look at this now. They're gonna stop me. This other, I have a Barbadian passport, and it doesn't happen to me. But now I'm stopped. I just laugh. So I understand that it's part of the whole thing, and it's a sacrifice. So I understand is what I'm saying. But back to you, sir.
Yes. Well, there were some people who posted during the time that your Praise Academy dancers were disqualified, that it was an attempt to hit back at you in this show. And I don't put it past them, Marcia. I don't put anything past any of these people to do anything, And I will say that, I think you all know I'm a minister, person who believes strongly in the matter of prayer, and I pray for every single, even Kimar and Caswell and yourself and your families, because and our family, because when you start to expose truth, when you start to bring truth to the platform, it means the exposure of lies and liars,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
people don't like that. People don't like that.
Yeah. Mr. We have a few minutes left, and I know I always say, to Mr. Franklin, first of all, we're just happy to have you back. I know uh, Dr. Ferdinand would have welcomed you back, but we missed you last night. But I do understand the need to take a break as well. So, but it's great to have you back. I got up from my class and I peeped around there. I said, "Dave, is Mr. Franklin on?" He said, "Yes, don't worry, he's on."
And
I literally did that.
there were so many people, Marcia, that posted tonight. I mean, you can go back up to the chat that they were praying for him. They're praying for his fast recovery and so on. I didn't expect it to be quite this fast.
Yeah, listen, I peep around the
I
corner
say,
and I said, "Mr. Franklin
I,
on?" He said, "Yes."
I bounced back quickly. You see, I didn't take the vaccine.
Yeah, neither. Yeah. Oh dear Lord,
But
you didn't take the joke. Remember?
we have a couple minutes, and I want to give that to Dr. Purdy, if you don't mind, to see if Mr. Franklin has anything on his mind. If not, to see if Kimar has anything on
Sure,
his mind
absolutely,
that we
absolutely.
can talk about.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I saw it in the group things that we were going to talk about, jobs for Bajans and Barbados.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
In that, could you post that for me? It's in your chat, Dr. Purdy. Good. Go ahead, please.
Right? Our problem in Barbados is that Barbadians are not investing. They do not have confidence in the government to put their money in anything in Barbados, because people are afraid of this government. I don't care what they're telling me. And I hear them talking about, the people buying all these bonds. I don't believe it. Because what the government did when it first came into power was to destroy anybody's ambition to invest in Barbados. But the Trinidadians are investing in Barbados, and the Jamaicans are investing in Barbados. And when they come to Barbados, they bring their bad behaviors. Just recently, I found myself representing at least 3 managers at Roberts Manufacturing Company Limited. 3. Because they are seeking to move the managers and bring in non-nationals, bring people from Jamaica, people from Trinidad, and they treat the people very badly. One lady there, she sits in front of her screen, and when she sees somebody doing it, she goes down to the yard and blasts them out in front of everybody. That's been reported to me, and they complain at the labor department about it. They don't treat business well. We have these companies that do they call it brain stuff overseas and stuff. They're owned by Trinidadians. They come in here. They bring Trinidad people here as van drivers. Next, they're managers, and the business are getting fired. And then, if you look, every so often you see in the newspaper people asking for work permits for people to do some things that might even be menial.
Right.
That you can't get Bajans to do certain jobs that the next thing they're gonna be asking for is the people to pump gas in Barbados, because Barbados now has sold out, and the people are coming in and they are treating Barbadians very badly. But I want Bajans to know that they have rights.
Yes.
When
we
they
had
buy,
one of those things I was trying to show, but it's not coming up, Doctor.
That's the
Go
notice you
ahead.
just sent me?
right?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
the notice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to get it up.
When these people
Thank you.
come to Barbados and they buy these companies, if they didn't make your job redundant and offer you back another job, you continue with your year's service as though you continue that you're working with the same employer all along. So if you were bought by a Trinidadian company and they take over, and you have 15 years service with them, this new entity that comes in, you have 15 years with them already, and the next year will be 16 or 17. So your years will be preserved unless there was some form of redundancy. And in which case, if they treat you badly and they mistreat you, there's something called constructive dismissal, where you can, like for instance, if you abuse your staff, verbally abuse your staff, that is the basis for an employee to say, I can't take this. I'm not going to take this treatment anymore. You actually breach your contract of service with that employee, and that person could terminate their own services and claim constructive dismissal, and you'll be forced to pay them what will be compensation for unfair dismissal. So you have, as the workers in Barbados, they have something to fall back on. Yes, you have to have proof, because you just can't say, but people talk to me rough and anything, but they cut people pay. That is the basis for claiming constructive, because you cannot cut some person's pay without their permission. The only body that can do that is the government, because the government had done it before, And even though when Arthur came and he passed piece of legislation to say that it will happen again, it can happen again as long as you have the numbers to amend the Constitution. So I'm telling you, only the government can do that. Unless you agree to have your pay cut, but government did it during COVID and tell people they would take 80%, and a lot of people went on to take it. You couldn't do that legally to anybody in Barbados, but nobody put them in court. People believe the government, and the government tricked a lot of them. So our problem in Barbados is that one, Bajans don't know their rights, and government don't care about Bajans' rights in the labor market. Right now, I'm seeing attempts to make amendments to the Employment Rights Act. That act is designed to be fair, for that people be treated fairly. It doesn't say that you can't fire some person. If that person deserves to be fired, then fire them. But there is a process that you must go through. Even the Barbados Workers Union and the Minister of Labor wants to change some of these aspects of it, because the employers want to be able to kick you and kick you out just like that. And they are getting support from people who should be out there looking after the most vulnerable people. The Employment Rights Act is not skewed toward workers for no reason. It is meant to make sure, because the workers are not the power brokers in an employment relationship, is the employer. So the employer does not need protection. All the employer needs to do is to be fair. And if he is fair in his process, if he is fair when he wants to discipline a person and he do it fairly, and you take the matter of the Employment Rights Tribunal, you will lose, because the employer was fair. But people are saying, oh, the employer is not saying that it's too much money. No. All you have to do is do the right thing. You will go up here and say. So I do not understand how people are saying that the penalties are too high. Actually, they're not. But how can you say it is too high to punish me for doing the wrong thing? Then don't do the wrong thing. That's all you have to do. Do the right thing. And you will be covered. But unfortunately, we do not have very many people in Barbados looking out for workers' rights anymore. And the government, who is a Labour Party, that is where they come from. They should be looking out for Labour. The last time the Barbados Labour Party looked out for Labour was under Tom Adams. I kid you not. They have right now, they are looking to feather their nest with the moneyed class. That is why they're taxing the poor and easing the rich. This reverse Robin Hood government. So I want workers to be aware that they still have rights. The Employment Rights Act try to fix some things. Like, for instance, you have to be working for 104 weeks in order to qualify for severance pay. Right? And a lot of employers, especially lawyers, hired persons and fired them in 23 months, which is just 4 weeks short of the 104 weeks. Right? This act, the Employment Rights Act, now says you're going to be working for a year. So a lot of employers now are firing you within 11 months. And then waiting a while and make sure that your work is not considered continuous, and hire you back. So and before government try to fix things like that, they're sided with the employers to make it more difficult for workers. So if you work for a year and you are dismissed unfairly, you get compensation for unfair dismissal. But they hire you 11 months. They fire you in 11 months. And government should be doing something about that because it is widespread now. It's notorious. And the government is not doing anything about that. The government is more interested in how I can treat these employers with kid gloves. And to tie all up the movie we're talking about tonight, all of those things put stresses on employees, and the employees go home and put stress on their children. You see where it comes from?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what ties up. Because people, and there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. We just got 1 minute. In the public
1 minute.
In the public
I
service.
gotta see this.
Right? In the public service, you have a situation where people are paid salaries, and then the government say, no, something, we should not have paid you, and we want it back. And they go and jerk the hand in your salary and take away all your salary for 1 month. So right now, in the prison especially, there's a lady in particular, she came to my office on Friday. She didn't get paid this last month pay because they said that she owed them money and they take out all. How can somebody in all conscience decide, well, look, I overpaid you in error, and I'm going to take back all of that money one time, and you will not get a cent for this month to pay your mortgage, to pay your other bills, to pay food for your children, to buy soap. And government is doing it. And nobody can get a minister to speak up on behalf of the workers in Barbados, not even the Minister of Labor.
Wow.
You imagine going to work and working for a month, and then here, but we overpay you the last few months, so we ain't pay you back. Mind you, this government on the 8th of May 1967 signed a convention with the International Labor Organization saying that you can't take out more than a third of people's salary. We signed that. This government signed that convention as soon as we became independent to protect workers' rights. And this government refused to follow the convention. So much so that, see, Grandy Adams, before we could sign treaties, because we were a colony, and England could sign treaties on our behalf. But Barbados then went ahead under Grandy Adams and passed a piece of legislation called the Protection of Wages Act, which prevents you from taking out more than the third from people's salary. They are saying that it doesn't bind the crown or doesn't bind the state now. But our Barrow in 1975 says it does, and then anybody wants to say otherwise. So I could bring you the debate.
Yeah.
Because that bill was intended to protect workers. Nobody in Barbados, no, not even the government of Barbados, not even the Minister of Labor is looking out to protect workers in this country. They're making you sick.
Wow.
And then when you start home sick, because Mrs. Dugan said it is the air conditioning in the building that's causing people to get sick. But when they start home sick, you're paying them.
Wow. Listen, we always say with so many issues, as somebody said here, Dr. Ferdy. She says, we, the opposition, have so many problems to address in this country. This person, Square 4, says.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Kimar had something he wanted. I don't know if he probably talked about it already, about the IDs and the deadline coming up. So we might have to address that on Wednesday if he didn't. Right, I guess he didn't. Well, Dr. Ferdinand, I just want to thank you so much. Thank you. I know you're away, and you try to make sure that this happens because I can't come on early, and I think this is so commendable. And I just want to thank you very, very much on behalf of the people of Barbados. Kimar, you are a gift to this country. You really are, and I just thank you. I know we don't have enough time to cover everything, but I know that Dr. Ferdinand did an awesome job tonight. And General, we are so happy to have you back.
Oh yes.
And we keep praying for you. We want you healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Yes.
Well,
Amen.
I would take 2 of the 3. Healthy and wise.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all so much. Kimar has his birthday coming up. And it's going to be, this is December 9th, and a big event there that is happening. And we're encouraging all the opposition, man. Kimar does so much work. Please go out and celebrate him and honor him on December 9th. And this is a flyer there. And a big night is going to happen there at George Street Auditorium. And he has Chrissy Irie and also Stiffy Star Quality, I tell you. And food is inclusive, ticket $75. And Saturday, and he corrected me this morning that he's going to be 29 and not 28 because I keep saying he's 27. He corrected me and said, listen, Marcia, I'm 28. So he's going to be 29.
Oh
Oh,
my, oh my,
Lord.
oh my.
All of 29 and
Yeah,
so full
yeah.
of knowledge, right?
He is in it backward. He is in it backward.
Adrian backwards. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And over to you, Dr. Freddie, and we close. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you so very much as well to Marcy. It was wonderful having you jump in and join us. Gazelle, thank you again. Kimar, wow, young man, great to be on the show with you again tonight. So, to all of our wonderful guests, all 424 of you that came on, all of you that made your comments and so on, we want to thank you for being with us tonight on the Marcy Week Show. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. And God bless. Wish you a great night and look forward. Don't forget, go on the marciaweeks.com site and make sure you register and get that Zoom link. And also look forward to you joining us on Wednesday night. So until then, God bless you
Good
and
night.
have a great, great night. Good night, Caswell. Good
Good
night,
night.
Marcia. Good night, Kimar. Good night, Dave. Good
Good
night,
night.
my
Yeah,
fellow
good night, good night.
Barbadians and the official opposition of Barbados. God bless you.
Yay!